Please hurry.
I messed up once. Hello again, friends.
Messed up once.
And you are our friends just once. And welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru right here on the hottest day of the year. And it's only going to get hotter with wrestling talk. I'm your host, the great Brian Last. And here he is, the man bringing all the heat, Mr. Jim Cornette.
Would you hold on one second? You stabbed me in the heart so bad with that sour, shrill thing. I'm checking all my connections. I jerked and sold with such force that I was afraid I had unplugged myself from you. I've unplugged myself from your world, Brian Last. I'm going to go find Sadie Mae and we're going to go back to the desert. Stan Lane used to love to do that all the time. At some point when we were encountered by strange people, he would immediately go into a quiet but sinister Charles Manson impersonation in describing what this person may be thinking. But you go ahead, it's your show.
You know, you bring up Stan Lane, so why not talk about Stan Lane for a second? It seems like more than almost any other wrestler, when you hear from people with questions about Stan Lane, a lot of them are about his dating life and just how active everyone else seems to indicate he was. Just all the time for like a decade straight, just girlfriends everywhere and just smooth and... Yeah, there's no question there. Any comments?
Well, will you just drop it in my lap like a
Stan Lane
punch bowl? Yes. Stan Lane. It should, instead of James Dean, the Eagle should have Stan Lane. No, here's the thing. It's not like it was an obsession. It's not like that he had no standards whatsoever. As a matter of quite the opposite. It's that it was just, he was somewhat, if not legendary, that's too strong a term, well respected in the wrestling locker room for the regularity of quality debonair young women that he was able to see in seemingly endless supply whenever called for. And whenever he was exposed to a pool, like that's why he hated it when I would.
Whenever he was exposed to a pool?
To a pool of them, is what I was going to say. But no, hear me out here. That's why he hated it when I booked a hotel room for the boys, because I was getting the goddamn, instead of the Philly Airport Marriott where the pool was, I was getting the goddamn $30 cheaper room 1.5 miles down the road at the goddamn Philly Red Roof Airport Inn. And so I would say, get a fucking cab. In those days, that was a lot cheaper than $30 fucking for 3 different rooms. But nevertheless, that was the thing, is he was so wonderful looking and so charming, I guess, in those instances to that audience.
How'd you guys meet those girls? Well, we exposed Stan Lane to the pool.
But I mean, like, what? They just seemed to want to spend time with him. What was that woman's name? Oh, I can't. Woman sounds like she was in her mid-40s or whatever.
What was that lady's name?
Well, no, there was I'm trying to think of the group. Will to Power. Will number 2 Power. Do you remember the name of that musical group?
I don't. I'm going to look them up right now.
But they had a hit with a mashup, as the kids were saying back then, of oh, goddamn, what was it now? I haven't thought about this 35 years. Freebird.
Baby, I Love Your Way and Freebird.
There you go. Peter Frampton and Leonard Skinner, and it was some pablum fucking FM, AM, I don't know what kind of radio it was, but they did a Muzak version of Leonard Skinner and Peter Frampton and had a hit, and it was this lady and her bandmate. I don't know what their relationship was. And he was sitting next to her on a plane, and just the conversation came up. of who they were, and they met and were friends. And he say, "Look, she's on the radio with us," because you couldn't get away from that goddamn song at that point in time for like a 3-month period. And so later on, I go to pick him up and knock on the door. Hey, Stan, it's time to leave for the show. She's in his room. It's not like these are just random. I hate to use the term rats, as they used to say in the business, but just it's like just women of all facets just kind of gravitated to the gangster of love. Hence the name.
Did he have to put in any effort? Or was it as easy as people make it out to be? Was it something beyond like that's wardrobe or combing your hair or whatever? Did he have to put in any effort?
Here's the thing. He had formulas that for when he would go in. He actually said one time, he said, "You always, when you go in the front door of the club, you're smiling and you're turning your head and smiling as you're walking to a table. And when you get the drink, you're turning and smiling because you want everyone to know that you're fun." And just shit like that, instead of the guys that walk in like, "Hey, I'm a bit." No, you're fucking. Hey, I'm doing it. He's fucking campaigning for goddamn mayor of fucking Plum Crazy or whatever. And so it was an effort, but for him it was effortless.
Did anyone stay around? Were there any women that were around, for a little while back then? Again, this is the old Stan Lane in the old days. Was it all like one-offs? Was it all just like one night?
Oh, hey, one-off. What are you to know? He had friends everywhere for extended periods of time. I forgot about Sweet. I can't say her name.
Sweet what? Sweet what? No. What's her name? Let's get her out.
No, God damn it! Now slow down, you. There was an actual. Oh, God damn it! There was an older lady that he used to be friends with in Nashville, and her name began with S. So therefore, we started calling her Sweet So-and-so. And I mean, it wasn't like behind her back. She was, "Hey, there's Sweet Stan and Sweet So-and-so."
Samantha? Susie?
Just get away from it. But she was been divorced from a goddamn, I think it was a professional basketball player, an NBA player. And had this, very nice estate in Nashville, the big house and the blah, blah, blah. And he knew a variety of people from all social strata. But that was before he settled down years later.
I guess the standards and the quality
many years later.
The standards and the quality may be what set Stan apart, but in the 80s, at their peak, if you had to go out and meet a woman, who do you want to go with, Stan Lane or Ric Flair?
Oh, Jesus. Well,
the trainer of Stan Lane.
Well, if I want to go out and meet a woman and then shake hands with them and watch them all go off with Stan, I'll go off with Stan. But if I want to go out and meet 30 of them who are all absolutely, batshit crazy or intoxicated, I'll go with Flair. I'd rather go off to the Waffle House where it's not crowded.
All right. I don't know how many more ways I could ask these questions.
Yeah, your mind is in the gutter. And
was Stan the most prolific in terms of, again, the quality?
No, but not prolific in terms of, because there's some people that can be obsessive about things and just, whatever the fuck. But Stan was not obsessive. He was just very genetically gifted with these talents.
All right. Well, this has been Stan Lane talk here on the Drive Thru.
And again, you see, you're already giving me trouble. I may be chemically poisoned for one thing here today. We're going to find out if I'm still breathing by the end of the program, because I've had issues the last couple of days, and I haven't told you about this because I haven't spoke to you because I've been having issues, and we haven't recorded finally for a 2-day stretch. But do you remember, Brian, recently I've said, boy, I can't wait to get up in my attic and store some stuff. You've heard me say this a couple of times.
I think so, yeah.
Because I'm on this as the organization kick and trying to weed out all the clutter and many items I've got to put things in the place they need to be. And a few years ago now, I had my attic spray foam insulated and all cleaned out and everything, and I had the big space over there, I had the floor put in up there, so it's a storage area. It's climate controlled. The spray foam, you don't get bugs because it's just like you're in a big old Ziploc. So it's the same temperature inside the house. It keeps out the bugs and the dust, and it's a nice place for me to put the hatch door. You got to get in the attic. That's a problem because you got to crawl in on your hands and knees. But then it's a big space over 2 rooms. And so it's good for boxes and things like that. I've got my father's World War II Army trunks up there, or boxes of financial records, or what is stuff you got to store, right? It's wonderful. And I got some stuff I want to store. I couldn't wait. And finally, I got the opportunity to go up there and put some stuff away the other day, as Aunt Lola would say. And I crawl over the dresser that's in, because the door is elevated off the ground of the vault that where all my collectibles are. It's about 3 feet off the ground. So you got to kind of climb over the dresser, go in on your hands and knees, and boy, then you just got all kinds of room. I'm crawling in. I open the door. I turn the light on. The electrician put the daggum lights in, and they're bright. You could operate on people up there. You could perpetrate surgery. Just so bright. It's just beautiful up there. And I turn the light on and I crawl in and I look over. And what do I see, Brian, on my brand new floor in my brand new clean attic? Is my brand new spray foam insulation all laying in a big pile about 2 feet high and about 3 or 4 feet across, all over the floor, a big mess. On top of it is sprigs of the evergreen tree right behind the house, like a foot long, with green needles on them.
Oh my God.
And I don't know what the fuck is happening here. And I look up, and in the goddamn ceiling, right over the top, there's a hole about 2 feet fucking wide, 2 feet around, however you fucking measure it, where there's no insulation, and I'm looking up and I'm seeing daylight. And I'm, what the fuck? I will backtrack and say that when we had the attic insulated, one of the things that became unnecessary at that point in time was the attic exhaust fan that I had that would suck hot air out of the attic space, but since there wasn't going to be any more hot air, didn't need the attic fan. So we disconnected the power to it. And the fucking insulation guy made a nice insulation patty and stuck it right up over the fucking hole. And then they spray foamed the whole goddamn thing again. So it was like a foot thick or whatever. And there it was until... Brian, do you remember what happened to me in this very self-same house, in this very self-same place? That is a story I've told you over the years, but it was 20 years ago. This very winter that we are in, the 20th anniversary. The raccoon is back. The fucking raccoon came back. The fucking raccoon.
Well, it can't be the same one.
And so what, did he leave these instructions written down for another one? How the fuck?
Another raccoon moves into the neighborhood. They go, oh, what's that hole over there? Let me go check that out.
Well, we've got him on video this time because he tripped one of the motion lights, and then Stacy got him on her phone her camera. It's connected to the phone. It's connected. I don't know what it's connected to, but she got video of the goddamn raccoon running around the other night. But this is apparently during the winter. It was so cold when we had that cold snap But this son of a bitch has gone up on the roof under the cap, gotten into the goddamn exhaust fan, which is not moving, but surpassed the blades and chewed through a foot of the insulation. And then brought in a bunch of those goddamn twigs to make him a goddamn nest there. So if I had decided to do this because it was 80 the other day, he probably wants to go out and go camping in the warm weather. But if I'd gone up there in the middle of January when I fucking crawled in there on my hands and knees, I could have come face to face with him.
So what do you have there now? Did you put something there to block the hole? Have you had it fixed?
Well, yeah, that's why I had to call one of the Monroe brothers, Alf Monroe, who's on my standby now for further critter instruction. And he came over. We had to crawl up there, cut all the rest of that insulation away, get a piece of plywood, and we couldn't drill through the goddamn roof, so we had to put trim on the plywood that we could drill sideways through the fucking eaves. So now he's got to come through a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood that's bolted in with 6 different fucking bolts, and we sprayed foam the fucking thing back over. Little bastard.
They're really smart. He'll probably find a way to get back in.
If he gets back in now, he can have the place. He's got to be a master criminal. That is the only part of the house that the egress, or is it ingress, or I don't know. I digress. The only way in or out of the fucking house that is not somehow covered by this state-of-the-art security system, as well as my goddamn eagle ear sense of hearing. If anybody was to fucking creep around here, I hear creepers. But this is the one way to get in this fucking house. And I got a deadbolt on the hatch door on my side because of the last time he came in. So he was trapped up there, but he apparently had a wonderful time. Nice warm bed. He could probably hear my TV.
Maybe he's been chewing through the internet line. That's why we've been having so many problems with your internet.
No, that's the other end. He couldn't get from where I am to where he was then. You can't get there from here. It was completely unrelated, is what I'm saying to you.
Well, do you feel confident now he's not coming back in?
I feel confident now. There's no way that he can possibly get through this fucking, this giant sheet of plywood bolted into the goddamn eaves of the roofing structure there. It's a large roof-like structure.
That's what Vince would call it. Well, that was the home invasion part 2. I don't know. The revenge.
The revenge of the raccoon.
The hole in the attic. Revenge of the raccoon.
Who says we don't do long-term storytelling?
I'll tell you.
At least I'd have to call the police this time to get him out of here.
Maybe he was trying to get access to some of your stuff before you put it on sale. Maybe there's a raccoon right now running around with a pair of glasses on and...
hey, wait a minute. I've got to go count my inventory again. He might have... Can you imagine if there was a raccoon running around dressed like me, carrying a tennis racket? I guess he'd have to carry it in his mouth, though, because they don't have opposable thumbs, do they? Some way they get by. Nevertheless, folks, at JimCornette.com, I'm trying to get by, just like everybody else. I got too much stuff. And so it's going to go on sale soon, including my last remaining ring-used whacking rackets and a couple of racket covers and some ties and shirts and pants and jackets and a pair of shoes. And I'm just looking at these notes here, all kinds of stuff that I have worn at various times in the past when I've been bumped and thrown around and generally abused on television or been an authority figure. See, sometimes I got to tell people what to do. And to make it fair for everybody, so because these are one-of-a-kind items, obviously, I didn't have, 7 different, I don't know, I've had 7 different pair of shoes in my fucking life now, but nevertheless, well, at least 7 different kinds of shoes. Remember, I got that one deal that lasted me for 20 years on that closeout on the tennis shoe. I digress. To let everybody have a shot at this, on March 21st, the listings are going to go up at jimcornette.com with pictures of this stuff and what it is and what it looks like. And then the sale will start on Saturday, April 4th at noon Eastern. So you got time to peruse everything and see what you'd like to take a gander at. Because when the sale starts, all hell usually breaks loose, and we can't be responsible for people that are trampled in the rush to the checkout. Brian, that's what Stephen P. New told me to say, isn't it? Just kind of like that to absolve responsibility.
I don't know if he would want his name attached to that disclaimer, no.
Well, nevertheless, he's had his name attached to several other claims, including a few of ours. So he might as well have his name attached to this one. But nevertheless, that's the deal. So everybody start looking soon for pictures and stuff of this at jimcornette.com. And all of our normal merchandise is still available and ready to be sent to you for a mere pittance, a mere bag of shells, just a drava of your money.
That's right, at jimcornette.com. And of course, the law office of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen, newlawoffice.com. But Jim, we actually have to kind of, in a way, pick up from where we left off on your show. We talked about the main event of SmackDown, the WWE title change, Cody Rhodes defeating Drew McIntyre, setting up Cody and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. A lot of fans wondering if Cody may be turning. I don't know about that, but we shall see what happens. But there were other things on SmackDown that you did see.
Well, there were a couple other things that we just wanted to make mention of, because, again, I want to make mention SmackDown's a 3-hour fucking show. And they went with, see, these shows are starting to blur because we'll get to Raw here in a minute, but they went with the multiple tag team, multiple person gauntlet thing or whatever to kill time, whereas on Raw it was the multiple woman gauntlet thing, whatever. But it's a long show now at 3 hours. Remember, it was so nice at 2. But I did want to make mention of, first of all, Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley, because what in the world? Somebody wrote that for both of them. And Jade, being the person, to be honest, has been written for since the start. We talked about it the other day on the program, that she started with Tony with AEW. She never had to lose, and here's your own belt, and you always get your promos, and you get people around you to accentuate how great you are and stooge for you, and etc. But it's, she doesn't have wrestling instincts, feelings, whatever. She's playing a part, like if she's on American Gladiators. Is that fair to say? If she was Ice Storm or whatever the thing she's going for?
On American Gladiators, I think Ice was a separate person from Storm, and Storm from the X-Men is kind of the look, but you're not wrong. And I think Jade actually is one of the better ones who kind of put on the performance of being a wrestler before she was a wrestler. She at least has the self-confidence, it appears, to kind of make that work, but there's a difference between being able to look like a wrestler and act like a wrestler and being able to do any of the things that wrestlers traditionally had to do to succeed, like promos or call a match if you're a heel or whatever it may be.
Well, and see, that's the thing, is that Jade, her part of this, she had memorized her material very well. And she does have her confidence as far as she thinks she's hot shit. But she's not a great actress. And so instead of really meaning all this, she may even really mean it. She just can't convey it in the words written for her. But by the same token, here's Rhea over here. They've obviously written this for her because the whole thing was the the point of the thing was Rhea was comparing herself. Do you respect me? I respect you. They shook hands. For some reason, Jade wanted to shake her left-handed or shake her hand left-handed when they did the first handshake. But the whole point was, I respect you, Rhea, for what you've done and how you work out. But, of course, you can't compare to me. And then Rhea's got to stand there and say, well, maybe my shoulders aren't as big as yours. I'm standing there looking at her. Yes, they are.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. They gave her like the speech they would give Liv Morgan or Alexa Bliss or one of the smaller girls. She was just as big as Jade.
Well, that's the thing. She said, maybe my arms aren't as big as yours. And you look and you said, like, yeah, they are. And then maybe my legs aren't as big. I think her legs are bigger. And so it just didn't make any sense that she would go through all of that to then get to the point which it was valid that, hey, Jade, your body, you're all show, no go. You're built for show. I'm built for fighting. That, but then it was a dramatic scene, and Rhea couldn't be convincing because I don't know who convinced her to say, I'm not as big as you, and she's as big as her. She may not be as cut, but she's the same fucking, her shoulders are bigger. I don't know what they were fucking doing here.
Especially considering whether parts of it were a work or not, there was buzz coming off that Twitter spat. There was buzz coming off, oh wow, Rhea and Jade went at it online, and then they came here and you didn't get that energy at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They weren't arguing on Twitter about, hey, who's in the gym 4 days a week, bitch? No, it made no sense to that. There was none of that. There was no... I don't know whether they... I guess Jade may want them to write everything for her. But I would think they by now would trust Rhea when she delivers, when she's pissed off and she's a Rhea Bloody Ripley. Everybody loves it. That's when they get with her. She's fucking emotional or introspective. It tends to wander. But if they just let them go out there and snipe at each other with some agreed upon parameters, wouldn't that be better than this whole long, dramatic goddamn... Jesus Christ, just, hey, you guys, that maybe it's whether Twitter was a work or not, is there anything about each other that irritates you? Let's all talk about it now and see if we can work with it. And nobody needs to get goddamn to the point where you're going to lay in wait in the parking lot for the other. But let's get pointed here, and we're promoting WrestleMania. I don't fucking know.
See, again, I don't know what this says about WWE Creative. They couldn't capture any of the energy that the biggest believer thought they would get based on what was happening on social media. And again, Piper Niven was kind of in the middle of a lot of that too. But there was none of that. If you didn't know anything about that, you didn't see anything that led you to believe that there was anything more than this face-to-face and weird handshaking. And there's gardeners in the background somewhere. It's just craziness everywhere.
It's craziness everywhere. You know what would have got a bigger pop in this fucking promo if Jade had come out there and started posing and said, look how hot I am, and Piper Niven had come over the rail. The people would have gone out of their fucking minds. Instead of this goddamn flat fucking hanky-panky handshake thing we got.
What if Piper Niven came out and said, look at how hot I am? The place would start popping for her, actually, if she started posing the same way Jade did. But again, like I said, I don't know how much of that is WWE Creative just not knowing how to capture the moment. Again, this was SmackDown. Brian James, head writer, whatever he was responsible for there, he's gone. So this was...
They can't blame Brian for this one.
No, they can't blame him. And the young lady who's now in charge of Raw, I don't know if she had a piece of this, but, again...
Oh, apparently she's got an even better bio listing. Instead of just bragging about her job she's got now, she puts herself over with all the other big time jobs she's had and all the big time people she's worked with on whatever their Their thing is where they brag.
But I don't think you need to be the best booker in the world. I don't think you need to be Jim Cornette. I don't think you need to be Paul Heyman. I think you could just be competent to say, hey, we got something with Jade and Rhea. How do we take advantage of this and make people think that there's something for the entire time it takes to get to WrestleMania? They kind of blew that right out of the water.
Yeah, milk a face-to-face confrontation with them after this happens and then having them say absolutely nothing to fucking about. Well, they got plenty of time to piss each other off again. Because, especially Jade looks like a person that could probably piss off a few of the girls in that locker room.
Maybe so. But, Jim, there was more on SmackDown that you checked out this past week.
Yeah, well, where are my notes on? Because now the Danhausens are getting, they're getting mixed up in my mind. This was him and Nick Aldis, because he's everywhere these days, ladies and gentlemen. Danhausen, he's a social butterfly. And Nick Aldis is coming down the hallway, and seems like he hears or thinks somebody's behind him. He turns around and looks, and there's nothing there and nobody there. And then he turns around, and there's Danhausen. And he's still got his list of demands, Hall of Fame. He wants a mentor to help him become a champion or whatever. Nigga, you know what? Hold on a second. And he goes to the Miz. Miz, who wants to help new young stars and, make them prosper. Oh, yeah, I'm dedicated to that. Here's a new one, Danhausen, who wants his own TV show. He's getting that from me. I say, damn that Danhausen would be, can you imagine just shoot like a reality show of an entire neighborhood that Danhausen moves into. And all you got to just do is take the camera around when he walks up behind all of the neighbors out in their backyard or doing the laundry or getting the mail or whatever and scares them. And they go, oh, damn that Danhausen.
I would do Danhausen across America. Just send him into different towns and give him a cameraman and just have him interact with everyday people. Make it nothing about wrestling at all. Just interactions with this demon or
what does it have to do with wrestling where he's scaring people in their backyard?
Backyard wrestling.
Okay, then he can scare people by peeping in their window.
That's illegal. That's illegal wrestling or illegal.
Well, there's no wrestling.
Illegal
in it.
Peeping. Who got busted for that recently? Did we talk about that? Someone got busted for illegal peeping.
Was it illegal peeping or was it immoral peeping?
Sneaky peeping, whatever.
Sneaky peeping. Well, it could be if you spot Danhausen looking into your window, then you say, "Damn that Danhausen."
Well, again, there is a television show.
Peep that Peephausen.
There is a television show using Danhausen, and that's SmackDown. And they used him right here with Aldis and The Miz.
Well, yeah, you see, you're getting back to this again. The Miz don't want to mess with him. And Danhausen says, well, if you don't, you are cursed. And then, of course, Miz laughs until Danhausen says, remember what happened to Dominic on Monday? And then he disappears again. It was short and brief, and I'll wait till we talk about the one on Raw, because this, again, Miz is he got a little stand-up comedy in his genes there. So he was able to react, but I'm still waiting for some earth-shaking material, or at least belly-shaking material, besides "you are cursed."
Well, that's his catchphrase, and he got that over. That's
I know over. He's going to, but I want more humorosity before we get to the catchphrase.
Is he writing for himself, or are those writers writing for Danhausen?
Well, that's what I said the other day. If they're going to do this, that's why I think they ought to let him. That's what I would do. I would say, okay, come up with you interacting with so-and-so. Give me 45 seconds of material. What are you going to fucking do? Come back, see me. And let him stand or fall on his own merits. But some of these, I'm still waiting for I know everybody likes him, but I want people to continue to like him. I don't want to see him wrestle, but I want people to continue to like him. So we need to, it needs to be clever. Like, are we discovering a brand new fucking Mel Brooks here? Or whatever. Say it needs to Stand out. That's what I want to see.
Well, again, he's gotten himself and that phrase over in these backstage segments after that initial bombing at that pay-per-view where people had expectations that were unjustified. He's going to be doing WWE's brand of humor, more than likely in the back, and people are getting a kick out of it. I will say the interest that we're seeing, the amount of people writing to us mostly pro, some negative, but mostly pro about Danhausen, it's surprising. Like, for a guy who had a debut at the pay-per-view, was on Raw for 90 seconds, maybe 2.5 minutes at the very most, probably less, on SmackDown. There's no one else in that company that's had the amount of inquiries as Danhausen.
And who hasn't been on television in any form for the past 2 years. That's what I get. Yes, he's getting over, and kudos, or he's gotten over, and kudos to him, and he sells merchandise, and that's, again, I don't want to piss on his parade, but I want him to be cognizant. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Have the people decided that because he has not gotten a fair shake and been allowed to be on TV and do his shit, or now that he's getting a big opportunity, we're going to really get behind it and we're predisposed to pull for him? Don't think that doesn't mean that you don't have to come up with some fucking shit that they can't. And because he had detractors, we heard the report in the company, from those who wanted to sign him, those who didn't want to sign him. Could get some fucking shit in there. Unless the writers are the ones that didn't want to sign him, I guess then he's fucked. But get some shit in there that's so fucking, it's great television in a sea of this boringness. Come up with some shit, do your thing, kid, whatever. Stand out and make a difference. If you prove the naysayers wrong by pepping the goddamn thing, I'm not talking about audience response. I'm talking about if somebody's neutral and doesn't give a shit one way or the other, is just watching, was this 2 minutes of TV time? Was this fucking funny? Is that kid, is he good? Well, that type of thing.
See,
Give
again,
us that.
My fear always comes back down to WWE creative. Obviously, it's not exactly the same way it was under Vince McMahon, but Vince McMahon had a very bad history of taking something that worked anywhere. I'm not saying Danhausen's the Road Warriors, but same concept, and just ruining it. Or, sure, you did that, now we're going to write for you. And all of a sudden, people that you've heard do promos before don't sound the same way anymore. Obviously, he's doing his shtick.
Yeah.
But that's the big fear, that all of a sudden it's like, hey, we wrote a skit for you and the New Day, here it is. You can add your little flourishes, but this is what it is.
Oh, but see, that's the thing. The little flourishes, the way that it's done, that's what he's got to be fucking fabulous at. I'm taking him back 100 years, but the WC Fieldsisms, the little asides that they're not going to script, but that's part of his gimmick that he can get away with, and still people are like, oh shit, we need sharp shit there, boom, boom, boom. But the point is that he's a cult favorite now. He got screwed around. He was absent from our eyes, but not our hearts. Now he's here and he's popping up in limited spaces, but he's still here. He's got to be somewhere almost every week. That's where he needs to kick this into high gear and get the next part of his thing over. If he's just so fucking good they can't turn it down, he needs, that's the thing that he needs to prove to show the naysayers, is what I'm trying to say to you, Brian. And the television, in this dog-eat-dog television industry.
I just want to see him interact with Brock. That's like the one I'm really pulling for. That's the one I'm really pulling for the most.
No. if a comedian would rather interact with a brick wall than interact with Brock.
Well, we may see some of that too on WWE Raw in the future. We shall see. I guess he's a free agent, Danhausen. He's on every show now Kind of like
Well, you
Obafemi.
say if see when a guy can appear and disappear out of nowhere, how can you really keep him? How can you keep him down on the farm? Just one show. He's going to be everywhere. He can appear.
Well, Jim, I don't know if you've thought about it. Maybe one of the reasons Danhausen disappears and reappears is maybe he has a bad habit that he's hiding from people. That's probably not a good thing to assign to him. Perhaps there is a generic person out there, Jim, who's trying to get past some of the bad habits and try to pick up a new habit, a way to get away from the old and fix the future. Jim, there's so many words.
A way to get away from this transition and into the spot. And you don't want to allude that he might possibly have a bad habit with some of the things we say on this program. Brian, certainly you can realize the hilarity of that. But folks, I'll tell you what's not funny. What's not funny is not only when you got bad habits, but when you're sticking shit in your mouth that's bad for you, when you're inhaling chemicals and all kinds of vapors. And you know what is in those vapes, Brian? They've showed you there's chemicals like glycoramine flimistol, which you can just set on fire at will in those side corner store backroom vape places they've got, where people are just melting raw chemical waste and sucking it right into their goddamn system. Or you got the people who are smoking. This is the Indians' final revenge, ladies and gentlemen. The people who are smoking the tobacco, they came back to get you in the end. Smoking a peace pipe, 500 years later, you're all going to die. They finally got even. But you can break these bad habits if you know our friends over at Fume.
Fume.
Because that's what I said, Fume.
Fume.
Well, it's typed F-U-M. I kid you not, but there's an umlaut over the U. But Brian, because there's no umlaut on the typewriter, if you're going to type it in, it's F-U-M. But it's pronounced like our friend Plune over in Norway, Fume. And Fume is a program to replace your habit with a flavored air fidget device that gives your hands and mouth something to do. Distracting cravings without nicotine, vapor, or batteries. You just take the fidget device here, which goes on the magnetic base. And I've talked about this. It's amazing. No matter in what direction you put this thing on this magnetic base, it will turn to where the silver mouthpiece device is facing downward. At first, I thought it was a compass showing me north, but then I realized it's just slightly slanted. And I guess they keep it down so dust won't get in the mouth hole. Because this is all about cleanliness, folks. And if you feel like you're having a craving, then you just take the flavored air cartridge and you stick it in the fidget device and you suck on that bad boy. And then it's air and it's flavor. How can that be bad? There are no industrial chemicals nor things being burned in close proximity to your face. Do you know, people, Brian, the epidemic of people that are getting surgery to replace their face because it went up in a giant ball of flame because of a smoking incident? They call it the prior surgery.
I don't know that that's a thing happening right now. Of course, there have been isolated incidents like the prior incident, but I don't know if that's a regular thing.
You're sticking a flame in front of your face. Don't stick a flame in front of your face. Stick flavored air in front of your face and smell things like cinnamon hearts and maybe not maple pepper. But there's also crisp mint and raspberry, peach blush, and all that kind of, and it's air. You need air. Think about this. It's another thing, Brian, where we're getting closer every day. When it's Armageddon, when the air is literally filled with chemicals that we can't breathe, if you've stocked up with Fume, then you've got all these cartridges of air that you can load into your fidget and suck on to survive.
All right, this isn't Spaceballs. We don't have to worry about there being an air shortage all of a sudden. This may not be the best way to tell people how to get the air they need or whatever we're trying to say here.
I think everybody's entitled to air you need to breathe. All I need is the air that I breathe. breathe.
Everyone's
and
entitled to get
fume.
away. Oh, God, stop. Get away from your bad habits. And once again, check out Fume. We have a great deal for the listeners. Isn't that right,
Yes.
Jim? The Good Habit. Fume.
The Good Habit. They've already helped over 700,000 people take steps toward better habits, and now it is your turn. And if you do this, you will get a free gift because we sent you. Use the code JCE to get a free gift with your journey pack of Fume, which includes the Fume fidget device as well as the flavored cartridges of Fume Air. And then you can, that Fume Air, that's going to be their airline. And they're going to pump strawberry flavored air into their fucking airplanes. Go right now to tryfum.com, TRYFUM.com, and use the code JCE to get your free gift today with your journey pack to start you on your journey to better habits and less industrial chemicals being inhaled. You know, this is, again, the blue-skinned people of North Dakota. You've heard about this. The incredible chemical amount they mated with mooses because of the changes that the chemicals caused in the rivers, and now they've all got blue skin.
Again, that's nothing to do with this. I don't know why you're bringing that into this.
Well, that's because you got to breathe air instead of chemicals. It's as simple as that. You breathe chemicals, you're going to end up with blue skin from mating with mooses in North Dakota.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a great deal for the listeners looking to drop the bad habit and pick up the good habit. Fume. One more time, Jim, that promo code.
JCE at tryfume.com.
That's right, tryfume.com/JCE.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, short and sweet. Here we are. And Jim, the WWE action continues. The action, I guess there's things that are more memorable, things worth talking about, but it's not like the show's gotten a lot better. It is a 3-hour show, but there was a lot of things happening on Raw this past week.
Well, no, actually, it was only 2 hours and 22 minutes or thereabouts.
Yeah, 2.5 hour show, excuse me.
It's a lot of falderall crammed into how did they used to phrase it? We've got when the announcer would say it backwards, he'd say, we've got 60 minutes of action for you crammed into the next day or whatever. It's a lot of shit in the middle. And they're relying on a crutch, which I mentioned earlier was the multiple team thing on SmackDown. It's the multiple girl gauntlet on Raw for the number one contender to the Intercontinental title. 41 minutes later, it's over with. Jesus Christ. I'd rather see Flair and Bulldog Bob Brown in an hour Broadway than just continuously have to sit through all of this to get to these stars talking to each other. But we've registered that point in the past, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
So let's talk about the stars talking to each other. Adam Pearce was in the ring and needed to talk to Seth Rollins. And suddenly a masked man appeared on the desk, and then 15 more masked men came out scurrying. Would that be a proper descriptor for that, Brian, scurrying?
I guess so. Running around, going. I was bobbing and weaving. I don't even know.
Bobbing and weaving, moving and grooving, shucking and jiving. So they came all out and they ran in circles and etc. And then the real Seth unmasked and the other ones laid back to scurry another day. And basically Pearce is saying, hey, Seth, I know how you feel. You're in the right, whatever, but it's unacceptable. You only had surgery less than 5 months ago. You're not gotten medically cleared yet. And you need to agree to stop before they get their hands on you. And it's the end of Seth Rollins. And then suddenly the Vision music play. Amazing timing from the heels. They know it's almost like they could predict exactly when they're going to be mentioned so they can tell the music guy to hit their music. We've had all we can stand. He just talked about us for 5 seconds. We're going to the ring. And here comes Logan Paul and Theory, who are the last remaining standing. How many was there at the start? Did we start with 5 and we're down to 2?
Well, no, we started with Rollins, Braun, Bronson, and Heyman. So 4 or 5 if you count Heyman twice. And then...
Very good. Very good.
Thank you very much. I've learned from the best.
Thank you.
And then Rollins got hurt. And then they added Austin Theory. No, they added Logan Paul at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they added Austin Theory. Then Braun got hurt. Then Bronson got hurt. Then Heyman's out. So not one member of the original team that got together less than a year ago is active with the group. Not one.
And I mean, Heyman, it obviously is storyline, as the kids say. He's not really fucked up. He's lurking somewhere to come out and be a genius again. But the other, oh my God. But nevertheless, they both said to Seth, well, we're going to fuck you up. Well, at that point, the Seth just put his mask back on and the other masked men jumped back in the ring and it was like a giant 15-person shell game where they all just spun in circles and then ran off and disappeared.
But you could easily identify which one was Rollins the whole time once you knew which one he was.
Well, but no, because they all went into goddamn all of the hurry-scurry fashion that they circulated in. You couldn't tell. See, that's what
I knew which one he was. After he took off the mask, when he put it back on, I knew which one he was the rest of the time.
When they were well, then you ought to go down to the corner somewhere in Brooklyn and play the shell game and win every time, because how could you possibly have kept track of that goddamn...
But the whole thing with them running around and not knowing who's who, it was ridiculous. It looked silly. It looked really ridiculous. The idea that all of a sudden there's this army of people who somehow all got in the building and all...
Well, it's what you said the other day, times 3.
Yeah.
Because before there was like 5 of them, now there's 15. It's what this is, unfortunately, is just, it's a TV show with a wrestling ring in the middle of the fucking living room from the 3-camera sitcom shoot.
Again, they've been hit hard with these injuries, but it still feels like creative is rudderless right now. Like they have no idea what to do. They just know they have to get to WrestleMania. They still don't know how to put this together.
Well, now remember, actually, we're not done. I forgot, after the masked men took off and left the Vision stunned and dumbfounded, LA Knight's music played, remember? And he came out and he beat them up until they beat him up. But as soon as they started beating him up, the Uso music played, and they both hit the ring. Now it's 3 baby faces and 2 heels. The Vision is outnumbered, and they kick shit out of them. And Austin Theory bails and pulls Logan Paul out, and they played Uso music again so the fans would wave and not realize, well, what the fuck just got accomplished here?
I did have the same thought you did, which was just, the heels are outnumbered. How are they the heels in this situation where they're getting the shit kicked out of them? Rollins had 30 guys, and now these other guys just beating his ass.
Well, but you know, but
we went from Broad Breaker and Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman to Logan Paul and Liberty Bibberty. I mean, it fell off a cliff. What has happened?
Oh my God, Liberty Bibberty. Oh, fucking hell. And well, that's the thing, is that you know, they say one riot, one ranger about the Texas Rangers. So, you know, they only need 2 of the Vision for 40 of these fucking guys. Maybe that's why all the baby faces are mad at each other, because the Vision went blind. Nevertheless.
By the way, great promo from Rollins. One of the best Rollins promos I've ever heard.
Well, yeah, because he was being serious about it.
He didn't talk.
And, well, no, that's right. So, That's true. He didn't say anything,
It was
did
all
he?
Pierce. Pierce did the promo for him.
Yeah. But at least he was being serious, listening to Pierce, who was being serious.
That's right.
Oh, Christ.
Dressed like Lawler, one of my favorite Jerry Lawler moments when Eddie Gilbert was beating up everyone like week by week, all the legends. And Missy's out there with him. She's like in a red gown and Eddie's just dressed like he's like going to play softball or something. And he says, now it's time for you, Lance Russell. And Lance says, I got a surprise for you. Jerry Lawler's here. And Lawler comes out and he's all in black, like he's about to rob a house. Yeah. I never saw him look like that ever before or ever again. It was so cool.
A black sweatshirt with long sleeves, black pants, black tennis shoes, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then what happened?
And then he attacked it. It was great. He runs. They see him. And the camera catches, he just runs and punches. He just runs and punches Eddie, and it starts. They knock over the set, and they brawl outside. I think Lawler gets body slammed into a car windshield in the parking lot.
That's exactly why he was dressed all in black, because he was wearing knee pads and elbow pads and a fucking, double layer of clothing because he was getting body slammed through real glass. I think it may have been downtown Bruno's fucking car, but they had cleared it ahead of time, but it was real glass. So instead of crying him a river for severing his jugular, he snuck in dressed in black and padded up underneath. He was more padded when he went through the windshield than when Eddie Gilbert actually ran him over with the fucking car.
Which he convinced himself he could just take a nice, safe bump off somehow.
Yeah, he took a nice bump off of it, all right. I don't know if safe qualified for that.
But it is such a cool moment because the camera catches him slowly walking in there and you see him dressed like that. The next time you see him, he's running and punching and just it's off. It's great. Great. Better than the
we didn't see that on Raw.
No, we did not. No, we did not.
So... Again, I try on the Netflix to skip the commercials and the travel logs and stuff, but in the back with our friend Danhausen, he was with Amigo Hausen Grande, but this one was Gable. But then, and I'm not jumping over this, we'll come back, but then as the next match, it was a different Americano.
Well, if you notice during that segment when Danhausen was talking to him, the other two, I guess the other Americano and the other bullshit luchador, Pete Dunne or the other guy, is it Pete Dunne? Yeah, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. I think those are the other two.
No, Kaiser.
No, and then the other two. Doesn't Kaiser have two other little luchadors?
Oh, Christ. I thought there was three of them. Is there four?
Well, you saw them leaning around the corner all the way in the back watching, and then as the segment ends, you see them sneaking up, but you don't actually see them beat up the other Grande Americano.
Okay, whatever the case may be, Danhausen was with Gable Grande, and they did a bit. And again, Danhausen's like, you want to join forces. And Gable didn't want to join forces, so he got cursed. But
join forces again, to do what? Do what exactly?
Well, but that's not even, we can't overthink this too much, Brian.
Yes, we can.
But I want something hilarious. I want give me 30 seconds of really witty repartee that he can pull off with somebody that's, as I said before when we were talking about his last segment, that's going to keep him the center of attention and keep him as over as he is, because now they want to like him. And he's the underdog and they've been deprived of him and now they're getting him. But when they get him all the time and they're not deprived of him, and he may always be the underdog, but it needs to be a memorable 90 seconds. One of those fucking things you used to see on a goddamn late night talk show where somebody would just do some really funny shit for a minute. Is that too? Do you see what I'm saying with this? How that he needs to and could flesh this out with some fucking material.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what he can and can't do. He's somewhat limited that these are backstage skits filmed like this with this person and here's how it ends. I think the big one we're waiting for, the Hulk Hogan versus Jim Londos, is when him and R-Truth get together. And R-Truth,
Okay.
R-Truth may steal that scene actually, because he is pretty funny. If you get into any kind of wrestling comedy, he's the guy. That'll be the interesting one, but otherwise I think we're just going to get lots more of him running into random people in the back and having these random interactions with them. He was bigger than Gable. I don't know if you noticed that. That was a shock.
Well, define, are you talking taller or broader or in better condition?
Well, Gable's in tremendous condition, but taller at least. Broader, I'm not sure about. Danhausen and Gable.
Because of the cape and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, then we went out and we got a different Americano working with Penta for 20 fucking minutes. They're filling up a 3-hour show with an hour and a half of material. That's what I was trying to say earlier and botched my tenses.
Well, during the commercial break, I don't know if you saw this, they had Danhausen come back out for, I guess international viewers saw it, but we didn't see it here in the States on Netflix.
Oh, that's right. And you explained this to me earlier, and they just did a thing where he came out and gave away t-shirts and etc., but nobody could see it in the United States of America.
He came out there, he got a pop, he pointed to everyone, got a pop, asked the t-shirt person to give him t-shirts that he just started throwing into the crowd, that got a pop. And then he said, anyone who didn't get one, if you don't buy one, you're cursed, and that got a pop. But now he's building it up like, you cursed, and they're all with it. They're all like getting with it. So, yeah, I mean, he's apparently selling a bunch of merch, which shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, if anyone returns or debuts, they sell a ton of merch that first week, but he's apparently doing really well.
Well, good for him. It's always nice to see a young vampire prosper. But speaking of things that suck, the Judgment Day still has a clubhouse. And did you watch the thing with Finn and Dom and the rest of the folks when they had to choose sides and it came to nut cutting time?
I saw the thing in the ring. I didn't see. Was there a backstage one you were talking about too?
Well, they started in the clubhouse.
I didn't see that. No.
They just set it up that there was Liv and Rochelle and JD, and Dom was looking for Finn, but JD went to find him, and Dom said, I've got to get something off my chest. And then they went to break. And then when they came back, that's when they're out to the ring. Just like that's a big cliffhanger we had to have. I got to get something off my chest. And Dom wants a rematch. The fans are still booing him and cooperating in this effort. He's a big time heel. But he's mad. He wants a rematch. Penta has his belt while he's holding the AAA belt. Did you notice that? I don't care what belts they are. It's hard to take anybody seriously when they're bitching about somebody took my belt when they're still holding a belt. Brian, is it just me?
No, I agree with you. I think it's crazy when you have guys coming out there saying they want the belt when they're wearing a different belt. Like we've seen with Adam Page and MJF.
Only El Gigante is allowed to say, I want the belt.
But that's only because those were the only words in English he learned.
That's good. Oh, boy. I was walking through the lobby of CNN Center that one day with Jim Ross, and we were going to the office to meet with that other guy. And he said, oh, look, he said, there's our new contract signee or whatever, our new contract talent. And I looked, and there was El Gigante sitting in one of those lobby chair, like padded seats, but his knees were up around his knees, or his knees were up around his head because he was so tall and he was sitting in this regular fucking chair. And I said, what the fuck? He said, yeah, he's 7'7". I said, has anybody trained him? He said, not yet.
Man.
Anyhow, back to this. So it's Finn's fault that Dom don't have the title. And so he can't find Finn in the back. So he's got to do this in public. And instantly Finn's music plays. How that if he didn't want him to find him in the back, then why do they have to do it in public? Did we ever figure this out?
No, that's not logic. That's, he's a dumb idiot with bad ideas. I mean, that's a bad idea.
But nevertheless, out comes Finn with JD, who I guess found him. And where have you been, Finn? Is what Dom said. It sounds like Dr. Seuss now. Where have you been, Finn? Did you get my rematch? And Finn tells Dom that he did cost him the Intercontinental title because he was trying to teach him a lesson. We're family. We're always going to have your back, but if you want to be the greatest, sometimes you got to fight your own battles. He sounded like a sitcom father if the sitcom was based in Belfast. And again, Brian, am I being picky or was this overly goddamn, the guy that comes out advocating for the right and, the right thing to do in this flowery language with this, this is all so dramatic. It's like they've written a little play. And it's not the talent's fault. They make them do this shit, but isn't this like a little play?
I didn't mind this so much. I thought Finn Balor actually did a very good job. And when you think about those old segments, it always seemed like he was, I guess, going to turn heel from the heels. Like he was always breaking away with JD and scheming. So there was a lot of history there.
Oh, they have foreshadowed it, and they've told a good story. It's just always got to be so heartfelt and introspective.
Well, this was the big turn. I guess they really wanted to really get it all out there.
You ain't kidding, big turn, because basically Finn finally says, maybe your dad was right. Maybe you are a spoiled little bleep, I guess, bitch, but I thought they were supposed to be able to say things on Netflix.
I thought maybe it was prick.
Well, but that would be isn't that more acceptable than bitch?
No way. Bitch is way more acceptable than prick. Are you kidding me?
I used to say prick on OVW all the time. I thought it was more acceptable than bitch.
I just watched, maybe we'll talk about this later. I just watched a clip of you doing a promo at OVW and you said the word prick. I was like, did this make air? That was my first thought when you said that.
Nobody ever said anything. Disreputable little prick. Anyway, now let's open it up to the audience. You can vote, folks. Prick or bitch. Which one's worse? But anyway, they were saying fuck on the goddamn network TV.
But they're not saying fucking prick.
Well, they're not saying fucking bitch either.
I think you can get away with fucking bitch before you can get away with fucking prick.
Well, now you're up in the goddamn ante here on the profanity ante, the profanity ante.
How am I doing that? By bringing fucking into the equation?
Yes, because now you've kicked it up a notch. You've double amplified your profanity with fucking, that's the F-bomb. That's the fucking no. That's what get goddamn Ralphie in trouble at Christmas time.
Let me take it back and I'll make it really lame. How about freaking?
Oh, well, now you've just made it silly.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
How about Franklin?
Well, now you've just made it sillier. But here's the...
back, I don't even know what we're talking about now. Back to the pricks and bitches on WWE Raw.
See that... Pricks and bitches. That could have been like one of those WB fucking drama kid shows, not kid shows, but teen shows in the 90s.
I remember when I used to watch wrestling and TNA, they had aces and eights. Are they still around? Oh no, now they got pricks and bitches.
Pricks and bitches.
The PB Express.
Anyway, Dominic, when he was called whatever he was called, pie-faced Finn, and Finn turned around and said, you know what, and hit the Pele kick on him. And then JD pulled Finn back. He's like, no. And the girls picked Dominic up, and Dominic charged at Finn, and Finn sling-bladed him, and then was charging at Dom like he was going to fucking hit him with that drop kick, and JD clotheslined. And that's what I said, talk about a turn. Then the girls started beating on him. Then all four of them started kicking him. Then Dominic went and got a chair and a hammer. And Finn tried to fight back, but Dominic hit Finn over the head with the hammer, full swing with his fucking hand. Boom. Then he put the hammer in his shoe. Then he gave Finn the 619 with his hammer foot. Then he splashed him off the top rope. Then JD gut-shotted Finn 3 times with the chair straight down like the fucking guillotine. And then he put the chair on Finn, and Finn was struggling to get out like, oh no. And I said, what the fuck? Somebody on Twitter even said, oh, look at Finn. He's so smart. He's struggling to get out of it. He's not that smart. He ought to be goddamn clinically dead. He should be clinically fucking dead. You should not be able to find a fucking pulse in this motherfucker. But he's just, so let me just recap. He's hit him over the head with a fucking hammer after all of them have beat on him. Then he's hammer-footed him with a 619 and he splashed him off the top and he's been gut-shotted 3 times with a chair. Then they put the chair on Finn and Dominic splashed the chair and Finn off the top rope. Which is stupid. Because you've splashed a goddamn chair. You've just hurt yourself. We did the deal where we put the Midnight Express gave Brian Pillman the Veg-O-Matic. I put the handle of my tennis racket or the frame of my tennis racket across his throat, and Bobby leg dropped that. That would damage your throat, but not necessarily your leg. But he's just full on frog splashed a fucking chair. Where was the poison gas?
I did like when Liv started beating up on Finn. That's one of those little things that makes Liv really good and makes the Judgment Day great. The fact that after the shit goes down, she's a troublemaking girlfriend still, and it works.
She didn't have a hammer, so that I wasn't opposed to that either.
You know, the other thing, too, is with Dominic, I saw this recently, forget which match, but it must have been WWE also. When he wanted a chair, there was no chair anywhere near him, so he had to walk past all these people sitting down, like to the edge of like where the guy who rings the bell is, and get that chair. Did none of those other chairs fold? And if not, it sounds like they may be dangerous chairs. Why not use them? But otherwise, if you're going to have a guy use a chair, why do you have one folding chair as far away as possible from the ring?
Well, that's so they've got time to get the camera on him as he goes and walks over and gets it and carries it back into the ring, and the announcers can talk, oh my God, he's got a chair. Because everything takes for fucking ever these days.
Do you think Finn will be out forever, or will he be back in a week or two?
God damn.
And does Judgment Day need to add someone new now?
Well, there's still 18 of them. But first of all, will Finn be out for a while? Considering what normally happens when somebody, Heyman got hit with a chair one time and kicked in the head. But we're considering what normally happens. I think Finn should probably be out until the sequel, Son of Finn Balor, when they fucking hit him with lightning and reanimate him. But I would assume it'll be a few weeks. Maybe is he going on a family vacation? I don't know, but my God.
Did you watch Son of Frankenstein this past weekend on Svengoolie?
You know I did, brother.
The reference, I was like, wait, he must have watched this past week.
Well.
Yeah. That Bela Lugosi doesn't get enough credit for actually what a great actor he was.
And he was all in on Igor.
He was, you wouldn't even, I told my kids, I'm like, that's Dracula. They didn't believe me. All in.
No, he made Igor a person.
A person.
A person.
Well, that was Judgment Day's moment of judgment. But Jim, I don't know if at least one more thing you're going to talk about on this show. I don't know if there's more than one, but Obafemi and Miro. Did you watch that?
Obafemi. Yes. Obafemi and Rusev. God damn. Rusev couldn't get on AEW television because he didn't want to do any jobs. And here, this guy just beat him up and beat him in 3 minutes with Rusev. Nobody took a bump. It was the basic plodding big man match that the modern fans think that all the 80s was. That's what they think. Oh, just a bunch of big guys not taking bumps for each other, which is what this was. A lot of kick and punch. Rusev was just there. The time of whatever was going on with him, the time is over. The window is closed. Check, please. Whatever simile you want to mention. And Oba, they were just waiting for Oba to finally have enough and beat him and do something big to him, which he did in 3 fucking minutes. Big elbow, big throw, power bomb. Boom. Thanks for coming. But somebody on the internet put up the statistic. Rusev has had as many matches since he's been back in the WWE for like the last 6 or 9 months as he did in 5 years in AEW. He's getting beaten almost all of them.
I saw someone the other day post an image of, I guess, what Rusev looks like in the new WWE video game, just his face. And it said, there's the face of a man who's thinking, I'll be in catering.
You know what they ought to have on the video game for Rusev's face? The bottom of his boots. That's what we see the most.
You know, they kind of used him the best last week building up this match for this week. And then this match was, I guess you can't even call it a squash because nothing really happened, but it was a squash. Now Obafemi's ready for the next thing, I guess. But
well, and see, this is in all seriousness, that's the only thing they could have done, because it's both guys' gimmick that they're the big, dreadnought, unstoppable monster, juggernaut, whatever. And Rusev is trying to maintain his dignity by being almost physically comparable to this guy before he gets beat flat on his back in 3 minutes. But even Obafemi does not need a steady diet of this kind of matches. He doesn't need guys that are almost as big as he is. That's the confrontation they want, the fans want, is always the 2 big guys. And it's also always the worst fucking match. So you need to give it to them sparingly. And if they're building this up for Brock, I believe Brock, if he wants to, can have a great match with Obafemi, but they're still going to have to keep that short. But that's the less of these for Oba is the best, and more smaller, annoying fuckers that he can make big comebacks on, but can get him down by cheating and trickery.
Well, Jim, that was the big match. And of course, the biggest segment on Raw this week was the main event segment, the confrontation that was set up earlier in the show. When the Usos were leaving after the opening segment, Jackie Redmond ran up to them, asked about CM Punk, and they turned around and went back into the building. And obviously they were very upset.
By the way, after saying absolutely nothing except just bounce it around, and they're very upset. That's what you just said. That's the phrase I would have. Very upset. So upset that Jay apparently lost the ability to speak English at various points.
Well, of course, it led to a big confrontation on this show. CM Punk, who last week had a confrontation with Roman Reigns, which ended with him saying he was going to bury him next to his father. CM Punk having a confrontation with Roman
because that way he wouldn't be alone. See, he had a good motive. He was talking about Roman being alone because even his family couldn't stand him, so he'd bury him next to his father where he wouldn't be alone. He was trying to be charitable to this guy who's so lonely.
This is why it's good that you're not his manager. You would have made the situation worse last night on Raw, but let's talk about the confrontation.
I would inflame everyone. That confrontation, yes, like Mussolini in Washington. Seattle, that is, though, not the one named after George. Well, I guess they're all named after George, by George. And they did the same thing again. They Punk on the way to the ring. They go to the break. They leave him standing there, fucking playing pocket pool. And when the fans come, or when the show comes back up from the break, the music is still playing. And the fans got to chant because they knew, oh, now we're on the air. And he did a good job again verbally with this. He was unsure about the temperature in the room, whether you're going to like me after what I said last week. And he got a pop, and then he plugged the Seahawks, got a bigger pop. And the whole thing is that he's saying some people are upset at what he said last week and call it disrespectful, but Roman Reigns has never respected me. And that it got a mixed response. Then there was some Punk chants, but again, this is where they're at, as we'll talk about in a minute. The only interesting matches they've got for WrestleMania is all amongst the baby faces. So he said the titles are to find out who the best is, and this title that I'm wearing was created because Roman Reigns wouldn't defend his. And you deserve a fighting champion. So this is all, again, babyface shit without being the emotional babyface shit like earlier. And then he said he would level people up verbally or physically or whatever, or he would leave them slack-jawed and dumbfounded like he did Roman Reigns last week. And the Usos music played, and they come to the ring, and that's why Jay, was it over? I know he was mad, but was this over the top where he was almost looking constipated and was screaming, kind of? You know what I'm saying?
You know, I really liked the segment. I put up something on Twitter about it afterwards, and that was the big negative I got from anyone who didn't. And most people did, was that Jey Uso was over the top, and maybe because I'm used to it, it didn't bother me. I actually kind of liked his simmering intensity behind Jimmy, who was trying to keep it together, and I thought Jimmy Uso did a great job here.
Yes, one of them had to be Peacemaker, and so Jay needed to be the one that was more mad, but I thought he came out at 100 miles an hour and stayed there, and that was a little bit much. But I agree with you on Jimmy being the more level-headed fella.
And, you know, one of the things about Jay doing that also I didn't mind, it kind of gave you the feeling that something could happen. We see a lot of things. We saw Roman and Punk last week. A lot of things where stuff is said and nothing happens. You kind of felt like there's too much intensity here for nothing to happen tonight.
Yeah. And that's why I said earlier in both companies now, because remember we've been talking about at AEW, goddamn, all the baby faces hate each other. Finally, Swerve turned, but all the baby faces were fighting each other, are arguing with each other. Well, in AEW, the baby faces are the doormats, kind of. They always get beaten. They're always fighting with each other. In the WWE, they've got now all their baby faces fighting because all of their fucking really big stars are baby faces. What do you think? And I was going to say the ones that are healthy, but even Seth Rollins, he's not even healthy yet. He's a baby face. So this has kind of forced the rapid succession of injuries of heels has forced them to go to an all babyface double main event. Anyway, triple main event, maybe, whatever the fuck.
2 nights.
Anyway, Punk says, why is Roman Reigns still sending his cousins to do his heavy lift? And I wrote, Jay is practically hysterical. And they're saying it has nothing to do with Roman, it's respect. And Jimmy said, I respect you, Phil. And he listed all the things he respected about him. But you disrespected our uncle. So apologize. And Punk did when I say babyface promo, a lot of people are going to say, he was nicey nice. No, he did a great promo about his relationship with the family, with Afa, and with the previous generation that was legitimate from when he used to work out with him in the Indies and blah, blah, blah. And he was being a reasonable person. And it was well done, and it brought the tension down with the Usos. He said, I respect everybody in your family, and all of them have respected me except that one son of a bitch. And if Sika can hear what what we're saying, then he can see, and he sees and just let loose with a long string of invectives that his son Roman Reigns is. And that's where Jay jumped back in. We need you to say I'm sorry. And they're both hot. And Punk backed up a step. And even the fans were like, say you're sorry. And so Punk shook Jimmy's hand and said, I'm sorry. Shook Jay's hand and said, I'm sorry. And he said, and I'm sorry Roman Reigns treated you and the rest of his family like garbage for years and never apologized. I'm sorry that he disrespected my mentor, Dusty Rhodes. I'm sorry that he's tricked you and everybody, that he gives a damn about any of it. If he did, he'd be here instead of sending his young boys. Oh. And then Punk slammed the microphone into Jay's chest, and Jay leveled Punk with a right, and Jimmy backed Jay out, and Punk was glaring at everybody. So it's not really like somebody's about to turn heel in this instance. It's a good, logical disagreement amongst the baby faces. But at some point or another, some of these things may need to be smoothed over for like a Survivor Series team or something.
Or a new bloodline that isn't Roman Reigns. I mean, we'll see. This was, I thought, a phenomenal segment. I thought it was better than the Roman Reigns Punk confrontation, because although I hear your complaint about Jey Uso, and again, a lot of other people have the same complaint,
but overall, it actually was better.
Roman comes across too fake too often, where you don't believe he believes what he's saying. And the Usos, I have an Uso rule for their matches. It's not for their segments. This is where they excel. And Jimmy Uso hit a home run here. And Punk, once he started with these sorries, and he shook their hand, I'm sorry, and took off from there, this was one of the best segments he's had since he's come back. But that may have been the best moment. That may have been the best promo he's done in WWE since he's returned. Because he was on fire, and it was coming out almost like freeform. It was great. This was a fucking fantastic segment.
And that's the thing, is the people expected Punk and Roman to tear each other apart verbally and say bad things about each other, but they didn't know what they were going to hear when it's the Usos who are beloved. And oh my gosh, and it's like our friends are mad at each other when we're hoping it doesn't get too out of hand type of thing so they were more interested.
Where do you think they go? Obviously, Roman, they're joking about it. They're now bringing it up. Roman does have a Roman Reigns schedule, which means he's never there. And the Usos and Punk all brought out the best in each other in terms of the intensity and the realism, and just an excellent promo segment. Where do they go from here? Because there was no full-fledged heel turn, although Punk was acting a little bit more like a heel is someone who gives an insincere apology. That's a heel. He was acting more like a heel than he has, but he is still the top babyface on the show.
At the same point, the way that he said it was in a babyface fashion, because he was being, as a man, he was being goaded by these fucking guys. Apologize right here in public. All right, I'll apologize for you. I'm sorry. You're a fucking asshole. See that it worked in just making it a personal disagreement. And I think that they can do probably Punk versus Jay with some kind of finish involving Jimmy and Roman without all of it. I'm not saying they could have all the Samoans gang up on Punk and then they'd be the heels. And I'm not saying that Punk should fucking do bad things to Jay, but they could have that match as we got to settle this. And some way or another, if they're creative, they could figure out a way to figure a finish that would promote the WrestleMania match without making anybody blatantly in the wrong. They're standing up for themselves instead of just cheating or lying to get what they want. I can see them going in that direction. But at some point, I think unless they're going to turn the Usos heel and do they want to give up the merchandise money and the 10 minutes of entrance they get? They got to make up after WrestleMania. The Usos and Punk, not Roman.
Well, I'm gonna say something or ask you about a thought with this, but I'll just say I don't know if we are at a point right now where it would matter anymore for merch sales if they're a heel or babyface. The level of star and how they're pushed for WWE,
Yeah.
I don't know. But what if it goes the other way? They're mad at Punk, but they also heard what he said. And he brought up here. He was friends with Samu. He was friends with Alpha. He knew all these people. It's a problem with one guy who these two, the Usos, have both had problems with. They're defending their family's honor, but they're also hearing what this guy who they profess to respect is saying. What if the Usos turn with Punk? Or maybe not turn, but what if they choose Punk over Roman?
But that's the thing. That then you'd pretty much have to, and maybe it might not be a bad idea, make Roman the prick. Because if you illustrate all those things as a reason for the Usos to be on Punk's side, then you just know Roman's got to do something about that. And because the Usos' reasoning is reasonable, Roman would just have to say, well, you just still need to do what I fucking say and slap him around or something. So you'd make Roman the heel. But I know that they chant OTC, but I'm almost like you on Roman. If they switched him back heel, wouldn't they still sell the same amount of merchandise?
Yeah, he was better as a heel,
I don't think he works as a babyface.
I agree. Great segment to end Raw. Leaves you intrigued to see what's going to happen next. And we shall see. That was Raw. And
what is going to happen next, Brian, in the overall scheme of things?
Well, I think what will happen next, if we're talking about after Raw, we're talking about after this recording, whatever it is, we're talking about a good meal. You know, sometimes you have so much action in your day, so much hot wrestling talk, that you just say, hey, I need to eat something. And then it becomes a question of, what will you be ingesting? Will it be the right food? Will it be the right ingredients? Is there a chef involved? And if you've asked those questions...
If you've got the answer to any of these questions, yes, please let me answer some of them for you, sir. I'll tell you what it is number one, after you watch wrestling, you need to put something on your stomach. As a matter of fact, it's always a good idea not to go into watching the current wrestling with an empty stomach. So eat something before and afterwards. Something beforehand to put something on your stomach, and something afterwards to take the taste out of your mouth. And as well, if you're busy watching 3 hours of SmackDown and 5 hours of AEW pay-per-view and 3 hours of Raw, you don't have time to cook food because you got to watch this wrestling. You know there's no way around that. So eat a fast, easy meal that somebody else fixed for you. That's where our friends at Factor come in. And at Factor, folks, you get quality ingredients, including lean proteins and colorful veggies, even healthy fats. They have made fat healthy. You know what they did? They took a bunch of cow suet and they boiled it up, and then they injected vitamins and steroids into it.
That's not how that works.
So this fat makes you muscular. They're fat. Just eat all the fat trimmings off the cow and everything, and it'll make you look like Lex Luger.
Again, that's not their fat. They didn't invent healthy fats.
It's not that they stole the fat. What are you saying? You're saying they're dealing in hot fat?
I'm saying that you
are
don't
they
have
some
to worry.
Kind of fat fencers?
There are no steroid-packed meat pockets or
what
whatever.
About the vitamins? They've shot the fat full of vitamins. There's no refined sugars. No, this sugar is coarse as a goddamn sailor on leave.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is going the wrong way. We're talking about...
No artificial sweeteners. I'll tell you, they're genuine. They will tell you what they think. And they're meals that fit your goals and schedule. Watch more wrestling, cook less, and eat a quick meal that is healthy and good for you, containing various methods of things that are good for you. The 100 rotating weekly meals keep things fresh and delicious. But if you want to go high protein, you want to go calorie smart, You want to go the Mediterranean diet. Of course, you have to eat that one in a bikini. You want to go the GLP-1 support? Well, you do if you want to go to the Mediterranean. It's hot down there. And the new Muscle Pro collection supports strength and recovery. That's why I said they've shot this stuff full of all kinds of vitamins and minerals. And as a matter of fact, once they boil the bovine fat into a gelatinous product, then that makes gravy. And boy, then you're to the moon with your muscle recovery.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking about official, good, chef-created meals. I don't know what Jim is taking you down, where we're going.
Veggies. It says right here, colorful veggies. The same people over in China that paint my action figures paint the veggies, bright greens and reds and purples. They're always fresh and never frozen and ready in about 2 minutes or less, depending on if you want to eat it raw, or 3 minutes if you want to just cook it until the life's out of everything.
Cook it the way you're supposed to cook it. Don't eat it raw unless you're supposed to.
Who are you to tell people what to eat and how to eat it?
Well, there are instructions with every meal that tells you exactly how long you need to cook it for.
Well, that's merely suggestion. Do whatever you want, because there's no prep and no stress. That's part of the thing. No stress. Just do whatever you want. And right now, you can head to factormeals.com/JCE50 off and use that code JCE50 off. You're going to get 50% off. See what they did there. And free breakfast for a year. That's for the new Factor customers with the qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. But you can certainly make available to yourself a healthier eating option with Factor meals and their chef-crafted, dietitian approved, that designed by dietitians, crafted by chefs, eaten by assholes like you. Factormeals.com/JCE50 off. Half price food in today's environment. My God. How can you pass that up?
Once again, very popular here in my house. Try the teriyaki salmon. Try the teriyaki salmon. If I may make a suggestion, but once again, Jim, like you said before, factormeals.com/JCE50.
When you pick out your Factor meals, do you just go, I want like 6 fucking teriyaki salmons, or do you ever try the other delicious options like the aforementioned that I mentioned all the time, filet with creamy Parmesan shrimp?
I did not get that specific one. I got a different
Then
filet.
That's why you're constantly talking about the teriyaki salmon, because if you'd have got the filet with the creamy Parmesan shrimp, you would, as Mama Cornette, you say, you'd throw rocks at the salmon.
Well, again, I've tried a lot of different meals. I've only gotten one of the variety of meals being salmon each time I get it, but I may get them all next time. It's that good, but there's other meals that are good. You know what's not good?
What the hell did you just say?
I don't know what I'm saying. I can't figure out how to talk today, but what we could do is tell you, I thought we were at the end. One more time, Jim, a great deal for the listeners, 50% off and a free breakfast for a year.
Yes.
What's that?
I guess I'll just finish up. Factormeals.com/JCE50 off.
Factor. It sounded so good, I didn't want it to end. We are here. There's more show. Of course, that's what that sound connotates.
There was almost a tune there.
What do you mean almost? What the hell is that supposed to mean? There was a tune
I could
there.
almost pick out that there was actually something being attempted to be played.
That's one of my well-known tunes, one of my very popular tunes. But Jim, there's more show, there's more wrestling action to talk about.
Yes.
But before we get there, let's talk some fast food news. There's been a variety of things happening in the worlds of fast food, the multiple worlds of fast food over the last 2 weeks that everyone's been wanting to get your thoughts on. First thing, the CEO, I believe, of McDonald's went to demonstrate their new Big Arch hamburger and made a video of himself tasting it. Did you see this?
Yes. And this is part of what's the matter with the fast food industry in general, is that these corporate dweebs who Dying on filet mignon all the time. Don't know how to eat a fucking hamburger. And he looked like a complete idiot taking a little nibble of what he called his product. The new Big Arch, which I have not sampled yet. Don't know when I'm going to get a chance to do that. But he's nibbling like he's a fucking rabbit eating lettuce. And ooh, the product. I love this product. You could. You couldn't make food any more unappetizing than what this fucking guy. And so that's where everybody started making fun of him, all the other fast food chains.
Well, after this guy put up his video, and much like you, I had the same thought. This is the CEO of McDonald's? But then the CEO of Burger King wanted to show what their...
Mr. King.
Well, Mr. King wanted to show his brand new, I think it's a new Whopper. And he took a big mighty bite and proclaimed it to be delicious, of course.
Well, that was still an amateur bite that he took, because goddamn, if you're really hungry and you've just got that sack passed out the window to you when you've been on the road for about 400 miles, that first bite, a third of a triple is gone. The grease squishes down to your goddamn elbow, but go ahead.
And I told you, we recently did it in the house. The kids thought Burger King had the best burgers, McDonald's had the best fries, and the biggest disappointment to all, they were the ones who then participated. Wendy's, their CEO had a bite of their new Baconator, I believe. I don't even know new, just Baconator. And he took a big bite. He declared it to be a great burger. But we've been talking...
They've had the Baconator for quite a while.
But we've been talking here on the show for a while about the downgrading quality of Wendy's, the downgrading the amount of stores of Wendy's. They've lost things off their menu. So I almost feel like they should stay out of it.
Well, and again, we hate to dogpile on Wendy's, and they're obviously, with what I believe you're going to lead to next, they're trying to do something about it. But it's, again, McDonald's and Burger King are not what they used to be. The fast food industry, because everything has gotten so expensive, they've cut their quality and their standards, and you got people that don't want to work. In some states, the minimum wage is $7 and whatever cents an hour, and they don't want to be there, and they're not motivated. You get bad management at some of these stores. I've told you about one or two of my local establishments that have gone to shit. So for the amount of money that of Wendy's, remember I told you about the Wendy's triple index? Is that it was $4 and some change in 1982, and then it was a couple of years ago it was $12 and something. And the dollar had tripled since then. So the Wendy's triple combo is almost $15. And it probably more in the major metropolitan areas. For that kind of money, people say, well, fuck, I'll go and eat at a better place. But then the better places raise their goddamn prices too. So you end up paying $30 when you used to pay $20 there, but you don't fucking even realize it because at least you're not eating goddamn $15 fast food. It's a vicious circle.
And, I've gone on and on about Wendy's getting rid of the grilled chicken sandwich, which was the best healthy-ish option at a fast food place and delicious. We've heard from a lot of people, both in the YouTube comments I've seen and also emails, complaining about the loss of the 4 for $4. Where it was $4 and you would get, 4 nuggets or a hamburger, and you get fries and you get a drink.
But you know what? See, here's the thing. People being penny wise and pound foolish the other way. Because you know what you got for the 4x4 or 4 for $4? You got a drink, okay.
4 for $4, yes.
You got one of their small burgers, not even a Dave's single, but one of the small regular like junior cheeseburgers or whatever. You got a small thing of fries and you got a small thing of fucking nuggets. So you pretty much got a burger bun, a bunch of fried potatoes, and some goddamn breaded chicken nuggets with almost no chicken in it. At least if you went for the Baconator or the double fucking burger for less than $8, you've got something to eat.
Well, we'll
So
see.
you didn't think about that, did you?
I didn't really think about their economics when I was thinking about buying the 4 for $4 for my kids a few years ago. I wasn't saying, I hope this doesn't hurt Wendy's.
Just stuff a goddamn loaf of bread down their fucking face, though, is what I'm saying. You get for $8, you might get something. For $4, you didn't get anything but bread.
You know, my sister just got me something. She just showed up out of nowhere and handed it to me like it was a big gift I wanted. But now I think about it, I'm like, it could be interesting. It's in the freezer. It's French fries cooked the way McDonald's originally cooked them, she was saying, and like beef fat or whatever it was. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, shit. And that might be good, except, holy shit, those things got to be 30 years old. If I were you, I wouldn't eat them.
Well, it's not the original ones. It's some bootleg company where I'm sure they're.
Oh, I thought she had saved them. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's a new company making old French fries the unhealthy way.
A new company making old fries. Well, Wendy's has got a job offer out, don't they?
Wendy's has a job offer out, and apparently a lot of the listeners think you should just drop everything and take this job. Wendy's, I have something on their website here, is looking to hire a chief tasting officer. About the role, title, chief tasting officer. Company, Wendy's. Yes, that Wendy's. Pay, $100,000.
$100,000.
Job type, dream. Location, remote. Travel, light. Mostly to your local Wendy's and or the couch. Start ASAP and required credentials. A human mouth, a pulse, opinions, creativity, and taste. I have more here, but I'll stop there, Jim. You can see why the listeners thought you may be qualified for this occupation, this brand new job position.
Well, you know, Brian, when something sounds too good to be true, a lot of times it is. The light travel may be one thing, but I've seen some description on one of the many news reports they've had about this. It's made the media that they want one of these influencer types. It's all glib and funny on camera for the hipsters of the TikTok generation to try to talk them into eating these goddamn shitty burgers that they've now put out in place of what was once our beloved Dave Thomas's pride and joy. That's what they want. I can't with any good conscience compliment Wendy's of what they've done with their product over the last several years. When I was, a lot of people wrote me about this because it was a true statement at one time that probably nobody living had eaten as much Wendy's beef as I had. But they've changed everything, and we've talked about it, and it ain't the same no more. But neither are McDonald's, and and many of the other places that you will find are hit and miss these days in the overall restaurant industry because of the stresses of the pandemic and all the other horse shit that's gone along with inflation and et cetera.
Nathan's.
As I mentioned, in bad management. And fucking shredded lettuce instead of leaf lettuce.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Skin on fries, the skin on the fries. Fuck your skin. And the less smashed patties of Wendy's instead of our flat, crispy-edged little dreamboats that we used to lay awake at night and think about.
Getting rid of the old-timey look?
Yes, no more Tiffany lamps and cool carpeting and old-fashioned newspapers printed onto the tabletops. Now it just looks like a goddamn waiting room at a fucking STD clinic. So, you know, with all of those things, no, they don't want me. Because I would tell them, do everything you were doing in 1979. You'll be just fine.
Well, here's what it says. Yes, this is real. Do you hate your job? Are you too iconic to be opening PDFs for your boss? That's a sentence I've never read before. Are you too iconic to be opening PDFs for your boss? Ever been told?
They want somebody that has a miserable, low-paying job that will go on video and praise them in some fashion and That's what they're looking for.
Ever been told that you're a personality hire? Do you care more about bacon than bottom lines? Yeah, so they got a whole thing here.
Can the person be fat?
Where's the beef?
No, that was an old woman.
Yeah. Wasn't that Wendy's, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's dead.
Just reuse that because it fits. Where's the beef?
Well, no, now it's carefully constructed, artificial, genuine beef byproduct. But that's the thing, is that the beef is right there. It just depends on whether you can still see the marks where the jockey was beating it. But should the person be fat? That's what I'm saying. If the person here, should they lean into, go from Wendy's to the couch and there's a fat guy that's very personable? Or do they have to get a fit person because they don't want to send the wrong message that eating our food will make you morbidly obese? But then that would eliminate some of the most personable people. You wouldn't get a John Belushi. You wouldn't get a Chris Farley. The description that they gave would apply to them, but they're fat.
And by the way, whoever wrote their copy's an asshole. I'm just reading some of this. Benefits. Get paid to eat because it's not like your parents know what you do anyway. A job AI can't steal because no mouth. Duh. A Wendy's approved amount of chaos. Controlled, but still chaos. Career advancement in bite leadership and sauce alignment. A custom Wendy's chief tasting officer email signature. That sounds like a real winning proposition here.
Do they have a spot where your parent or guardian can sign for you, because it sounds like they're looking for a 16-year-old?
No, but if I look at the application, first name, last name, email, birth date, phone, address, city, state, zip code, social media handles. All your important information plus examples of how many followers you have. And then you have to upload a video of you talking about what you love about Wendy's, I guess. All right, well, sends on a down note. Why is this going to be depressed talking about this? Talking about Wendy's?
Well, because see, now they're just grasping at straws. They're trying, instead of improving their product, they're trying to get another one of these social media wackos to lie to people and tell them how great it is. They could put that $100,000 into better fucking beef and French fries.
Yeah, by the way, when you see that influencer now, are you going to believe them? You know they're getting $100,000 to say it.
Well, people are stupid. They believe it. Look at all the highly paid people that people believe these days to begin with.
Jim, moving on here, I have an article from Vice by Haley Miller. Antonio Inoki is being brought back to life as an AI robot. Yes, really. Legendary wrestler Antonio Inoki passed away in 2022, but his legacy will live on in a new human-like AI robot.
Oh, good Lord.
The ambitious project, which had a launch event in Tokyo on February 19th, will reanimate Inoki three-dimensionally. The idea was first
Is he going to be a guest on our show?
The idea was first presented 2 years ago. Inoki Genki Factory, along with Avita Inc. and SMBC Value Creation Inc., are collaborating on the project that has a completion date of 2027. The completion will coincide with Inoki's birthday. Kazuki Inoki, Inoki's younger brother, and the president of Inoki Genki Factory.
Hey, do they normally just manufacture jinkies? What is that? What is a jinky?
Genki, Genki, I presume. He hopes the robot will be, quote, an advisor for the youth 100 years from now.
What?
Let me stop before we go forward. What are your thoughts on reanimated Antonio Inoki? You didn't see this coming, did you?
Well, no, I figured they'd do Thez and Gotch first, but okay. So at first I was going to say, wait a minute. I know Antonio Inoki was a massive cultural figure in the country of Japan, but one would think if they had the technology to reanimate someone, it would be a stretch to think that of all of their citizens and all of their leaders and everybody in their culture that they would pick Antonio Inoki as the canary in the coal mine. But now I hear that his brother is owns the factory, so it makes more sense. But not only, how the fuck is this robot that they're building now, which is, I would imagine, still to be termed an experimental type of thing, supposed to be advising the youth in 100 years? And secondly, what the fuck is it going to do? It can, I mean, practically, you can't let it wrestle. It can't do anything, I would think, besides what Antonio Inoki, you could already program it that he has done or said to do or say. Would correct?
I'm trying to play with my reanimated Antonio Inoki over here. It's not going.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
That's the worst part about it. Will when you give your thumb up to the robot's ass, will it play the theme song or Tiger Da?
Well, Jim, if I go back to this article here.
What practical usage is there for this product? If it's not a sex doll, is what I'm asking you.
I don't know. We'll go. Hold on. No, back to Tiger Da, you see?
Does anybody want Antonio? I'm going to throttle that keychain. Does anybody want Antonio Inoki sitting in their dining room? They would have him come over and visit. What practical use is there for this thing?
You know, if you watched a lot of New Japan, I would think Sakaguchi would be a better candidate to look more like a classic reanimated zombie like character, wouldn't you?
He did have that expression on his face from time to time.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Japanese Frankenstein.
He may have been the more honorable of the bunch of them, but again, what is the usage here?
I have some quotes here from the brother Inoki. This project is an initiative to embody the presence of Antonio Inoki, who left behind remarkable achievements and ideas that should be passed on to future generations by utilizing humanoid and AI technologies as its foundation. It won't be the real Antonio, so I hope everyone will see it from a different perspective. Asked if this Inoki will be able to wrestle, the developers say that's something for the distant future.
Yeah, real far ahead in the future.
I have a quote here now just attributed to the Inoki Genki factory. Furthermore, this project is not limited to mere entertainment. It is positioned as an effort that carries significant social meaning, such as the inheritance of personality, ideology, and memory, and presenting the legacy in a form that allows dialogue with future generations.
What's he going to do? Go to community functions, cuss him out, and slap him in the face?
So let's say Takeshita can't figure out what to do next with his career.
Oh, God.
He could fly to Japan and meet with Antonio Inoki's humanoid companion, or not companion.
No, Tony Khan would send a plane ticket for the robot to come over here.
What if Tony builds his own Antonio Inoki? What if Antonio Kanoki builds his own Antonio Inoki, but it's not this official one? What's to stop him? He's a billionaire. He's an evil billionaire. He could build all sorts of humanoids.
It could be like the classic Godzilla versus fucking Mecha Godzilla movie where they could pit the two of them against each other and they could destroy Tokyo. But do me one favor, though. Can you Google what a jinky is?
Let me look up.
I got to know what kind of money they're making selling jinkies over there.
Genki
Factory.
What does Genki mean in Japanese? Lively, full of spirit. Probably the wrong thing to say about a spiritless humanoid, but when you put the words...
But how is that? So we have how does that apply to a factory?
When you put the words together, the word Genki means lively, full of spirit, energetic, vigorous, vital, healthy, well, fit, in good health.
Factory.
The
fuck is this? These people are doing?
Oh, why didn't they just call it Pelican Shin Bay?
Lantern Jaw Incorporated.
Tigada, the studio.
Tigada.
Are you surprised
But now we need to get that word going in slang, Brian. It's very janky.
It's very janky.
Lively, spirited, animated, etc.
Do you think the Inoki family will beat the Hogans to market with a humanoid that they can go out there and make money with?
Well, yeah, because the Hogan family is still waiting on quotes for that massive hydraulic 12-inch penis that the Hogan figure is going to have. If they did Terry Bollay's, it wouldn't cost so much.
So where's the Inoki humanoid going to be housed? Is it something that like you could book out for speaking engagements? Is like who's collecting the money for humanoid Inoki, and when will he get upset about it?
Well, here's the thing. If it's artificial intelligence and everything, do they make him and they just say, okay, see you, pal, and he has to go out and get a job and fucking rent him an apartment and make his own way? So does he have an official booker, but he's got to take the bookings and show up in the right places?
It's not exactly a pod people situation, but I mean, it's getting close. It's getting close when all of a sudden it's humanoid. It's not even just like AI Inoki that you're talking to like online. You know, hey, what are you doing Saturday, Antonio? No, this is a humanoid.
What are you wearing?
A humanoid to advise the children of the future about what they should do. Lesson 1, don't embezzle money from New Japan.
Never trust a guy named Shinma.
Lesson 2, don't have Vader beat you in the sumo hall and may cause problems. All right, well, we will see what happens. We will stay on top of this. Could be a big developing story in the future. We don't know. Maybe we'll get AI Nick Goulas. You don't know what could come next. Anything is possible nowadays.
If they did an AI Nick Goulas, they'd only make him from the waist up to save money. He can sit behind a desk.
We will stay on top of this story. Jim, speaking of wacky wrestling personalities, we have some AEW news. An email was sent to me by AEW Media, who pick and choose what they want to send to me, apparently. All Elite Wrestling partners with Kissway, if that's how you pronounce it, to launch My AEW.
Oh.
A centralized streaming destination for AEW fans. Summit, New Jersey, March 9th, 2026. Kissway, Kiswe, the global leader in streaming technology and services, and All Elite Wrestling, one of the most dynamic brands in professional wrestling, today announced the global launch of My AEW, a new digital platform for All Elite Wrestling. Powered by Kiswe, the platform gives fans immersive access to live and on-demand events outside the United States and Canada. A dedicated fast channel with ad-supported viewing available to fans globally, and more exciting features to come in the near future. And then we get a bunch of quotes where everyone blows each other. Jim, what are your thoughts on this? We've talked a lot about who's buying WBD. It's changed a few times, and the conversation always comes to what is the future of AEW? What can they do? We've talked about them having a streaming platform. What do you think of this?
Well, in effect, they've worked with a streaming platform with those Triller people, which for years I thought was Thriller because their programming was thrilling. Then it was Triller, and then I didn't understand it at all. But they are and have been in severe financial problems. They're going under quickly. Save my life! I'm going down for the last time. And so the reason why, as I understand it, that the copy there said outside the United States and Canada is because AEW is still pretty covered with their TV deal and et cetera with the WBD folks for the United States and Canada, but they were getting a lot of their views, a lot of their buys on the pay-per-view, whatever, internationally through the Triller people, which is either going away or has gone away or whatever the case. They're about to go. So they're trying to start this as a replacement. And also, I mean, in the future, it could be a place where AEW lived if nobody would pay them for TV rights at all. They could do their own thing. But, one would have to wonder, even Tony, more specifically, even his father, if AEW lost the TV rights deal and said, okay, we're still going to do the same thing, we're just going to put it all on our own website, into our paper, whatever, I think Shad would have something to say about that. Tony may go through the rest of his inheritance before Shad dies at that point. So it may be a valid way for them to get extra international exposure and get some income from that, but I can't see it ever replacing fully any kind of paid rights fee that they would get from another entity.
Well, I have the pricing structure here. We could talk about that. And again, there is a need for them to have some sort of home for their archive, Ring of Honor included. And we've said it multiple times, they have a highly transactional base audience, if we are to believe that they're pulling 140,000 pay-per-view buys every month.
Yeah.
If someone will spend $50 on that every month, what would they spend for AEW? Something like this. Here's the pricing, Jim. Again, international, outside of America and Canada, unless you remember that surfshark.com/JCE link. But beyond that, $7.99 a month gets you access to the AEW Fast channel, and that's like one of those digital channels. Gets you access to AEW podcasts, which I don't know if they have any exclusive podcasts that aren't distributed freely. AEW Dynamite and Collision live broadcasts. Ring of Honor Honor Club TV. Ring of Honor pay-per-views, and AEW's TV archive. $8 a month.
Jesus Christ. That's a lot of stuff.
$19.99 a month, $20 a month. Gets you same things you would get over there, plus one AEW pay-per-view airing during the current month. So every month you get a pay-per-view.
Wait.
And this is, that's what
every
it says.
month?
It says one AEW pay-per-view airing during current month.
Oh, so that's from the back library, not a brand new one. I was going to say, if you get for an extra $12, you get a pay-per-view once a month. You've just got their pay-per-view for $12, but they're talking about something from the catalog.
Hold on. They got something here in small print. Includes in subscription.
I knew it couldn't be simple, folks.
Available in library 90 days after original broadcast.
Yeah.
And then finally, $119 for an annual plan, which gets you, again, the same thing. Select pay-per-view archive, AEW TV archive, Ring of Honors, Honor Club TV, and pay-per-views, Dynamite and Collision Live, all 2026 AEW pay-per-views, and of course, podcasts and their Fast channel.
Wait, hold on now. Again, if they're selling that many pay-per-views per month, or per show, rather, they don't do one every month. But if they're doing the 100 and something thousand that Uncle Dave is reporting, and they're $40 and $50 pay-per-views. Remember, you get a discount if you get it through Max or Prime or whatever the fucking deal is, but they're for $120 a year, they're going to give you all of their entire service plus 8 or 9 $50 pay-per-views. Aren't they cutting their own nuts off there?
Well, and again, the way it is here, it's not exactly clear if you're getting live pay-per-views or just access to a pay-per-view archive 90 days after the initial airing.
Well, yeah, but how was the last one phrased? You got...
Hold on, I gotta get the magnifying glass.
On the pay-per-views?
The last
we're spending too much time on this, but it just is.
The last one says, included in subscription, available in library 90 days after original broadcast. But that's $120 a year. And again, if they have 140,000 people buying the pay-per-views, whether this includes the live pay-per-views or just the archive, to me, it's crazy not to do something like this. Again, you got to see what you can do.
140,000 times 120?
Hold on.
See, I could do that in my head, but I'm checking you out.
I have a lot of things open, and then you just give me math. 140,000 times what?
Times 120.
16,800,000.
Okay, if everybody that allegedly from their story buys their pay-per-views also bought the year subscription, they'd get $16 million. Their deal with WBD is for what, 180 million, supposedly?
Somewhere in that range.
So,
well, we will stay on top of the My AEW story and see if anything happens here in the States. Again, AEW, the future right now up in the air. But Jim, one of the things that could help Tony going into the future would be the right power.
More power.
More power. He's on his phone a lot, the young man. He's on Twitter. He's obsessed with Twitter and Discord and message boards, and he's obsessed with it. His phone runs out of battery a lot, I would presume.
Well, you need to charge everything. You need to charge your batteries literally and figuratively, Brian. You need to plug yourself in and recharge. And if you don't have any power, how the heck are you going to give power to those things around you? That's why you got to go to the Ridge Power Bank, because that way you've got power in the bank. And all these cords you've got for your phone and your headphones and your watch and your Kindle and your portable defibrillator, all those different cords. Now you can get rid of that stuff, all that tangled mess, because the Ridge Travel 5-in-1 Power Bank has the cables built in, and you can charge all your devices at the same time. We've talked about it. The one power bank, no extra cables, MagSafe wireless charging, Apple Watch charger, Lightning charging, USB-C, USDA Choice and Prime, everything you need to plug in and zap. And again, we're entirely encouraging the happy and satisfied customers of the Ridge Power Bank to tell us what you've been able to power with it. As a matter of fact, Brian, I figured out that through the Ridge Power Bank, I can watch television shows from Butte, Montana. You just get on your phone and you plug it into the power bank and you call somebody in Butte, Montana. And then on the other side of the power bank, you plug your TV in, and then you have your friend in Butte hold their phone up to the screen so that you can watch the goddamn local news from Butte on your TV on the other side of the power bank.
Yeah, not exactly.
It's amazing the things you can do.
It's amazing the things you concoct in your head sometimes when it comes to technology, but Ridge has already been there for you when it comes to a slim, compact wallet, and Ridge is there for you now when it comes to a magnetic power bank for all your power needs. Jim, a great deal for the listeners.
A great deal that's easily transportable also. It's not like a giant IBM machine. It's the size of an 8-track tape. And all you got to do is go to ridge.com, R-I-D-G-E, ridge.com, because they're having their once-a-year anniversary sale. You can get up to 40% off. Up to 40% off at ridge.com. Just tell them that you heard about them on our show, and they'll give you the wink and the nod and the elbow and the ribs, and you'll be all set. For up to 40% off, the LED charge status indicator right there, that also provides you a nightlight when you're, I don't know, asleep in a strange hotel room, or you're waking up in an alleyway after a drunken night at Mardi Gras. You can turn that on and you can see how to get back in your bed or out of the gutter.
Whatever the situation, don't run out of power. Ridge is there for you, Jim.
That's right. You break down on the side of the road, it's got a set of jumper cables, but they're little teeny tiny bitty jumper cables. They're only for a compact car.
Again, let's not assign features and things to this that don't come with it. That would be wrong, but what is right is a great deal for the listeners, Jim.
Well, that's right. Up to 40% off Ridge.com. Tell them we sent you. They love us, so they'll love you. If you don't give us love, then they'll give you scorn in return. And then, well, there's too much love in the world except when there's not.
Once again, ridge.com/JCE.
What more can I say?
Well, Jim, a little bit more show to go. We're going to end with Guest the Program, but before we get there, continuing on our recent OVW discussion when you found the format to, it was Machine versus Nick Dinsmore.
Yes, it was.
It caused a lot of people, I guess, to go to YouTube searching for more OVW footage, and this clip here was sent over to us a bunch of times. People wanted to get your review of your promo and the other job that, not other job, that sounds awful, the job that the others in this skit did. Skit. I'm just screwing everything up
here. What are you saying here?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great segment from OVW's past that we're going to play. Jim, before we play it, what do you remember about trying to fire Doug Basham?
Oh, good Lord. To start at the beginning, when I first got to OVW, I knew because I'd seen him that Doug Basham was Danny Davis's nephew. He was his first student, really, when he started the school, and he had trained him. But that he had an excellent physique. He'd worked out, gained weight, and he was a really smooth worker. But he had a great job over here at the Ford Motor Plant, and he worked like 3 to 11, he couldn't wrestle. He couldn't make our TVs, couldn't make our shows. So finally, we got to a point where there were enough WWF talents and there was enough business being done with the developmental program. Doug decided to take the swing and he first ended up getting his schedule changed. And then I think he left the job, but to be able to work full time. So we did the angle where that a mysterious masked man named the Machine came in and was leading a group of guys who were kind of disgruntled with the way they'd been treated in OVW, local, OVW homegrown guys. And what was his grudge? Who was he and what was his grudge against OVW? And we did kind of a reversal on the old masked man deal that I knew who it was, but I wouldn't say. Danny Davis said he knew who it was, but we wouldn't mention his name. We would refer cryptically to what he was trying to accomplish or prove or whatever. And finally, it came out that Doug was indeed, or that Machine was indeed Doug Basham, Danny's nephew. And he was trying, the revolution was trying to take over OVW because he felt like it was his birthright. When the company was started, Doug was figured in. Doug was part of the plans. Doug was Danny's nephew. And then he had been iced out because of a family disagreement type of thing. And that's how, because a lot of the fans knew who Doug was, so we wanted them to, really, because I always knew I was going to take the mask off of him, but that was the way he supposedly was trying to come in and do his, damage to OVW surreptitiously. So it was kind of a complicated thing, but when the fans knew who Doug was and they knew he was Danny's nephew, and we took what they knew to be factual and then worked in a fictitious family disagreement and falling out between Danny and Doug and all this other shit going on to make it interesting. Does that kind of summarize things fairly properly?
I think so. According to the person who uploaded this video, this is from the air date of December 8th, 2001. Let's go to the video entitled Jim Cornette Tries to Fire Doug Basham.
Welcome back to Ohio Valley Wrestling. In the ring, obviously, with JC, and you have been dreaming about this for months.
Dean, this is something that I've waited a long time for. I want everybody here tonight to see it, and that's why I want to call Doug Basham. Come out here in this ring. No mask, no music, no fanfare. I told him to be here. I want him here. You know, it occurred to me that after the program went off the air last week, I could have fired him on the spot. Or I could have done an Eric Bischoff. I could have called him on the phone the next day and fired him. But that would deprive everybody in TV land, everybody in the Davis Arena. Yeah, come over here. As a matter of fact, Dean, I'll take this. I didn't want to deprive the folks here in the Davis Arena or the TV viewers or the wrestlers in the locker room, I didn't want to deprive anybody of letting me see you face to face and tell you what a low-life, low-down, obnoxious, arrogant, egotistical, crooked, conniving, disreputable son of a bitch you really are.
Well, that about covered it.
Let me stop it there for a second. No worries at all about what you could say on TV? I mean, not that you said anything too far, but again, this was a long time ago. This is almost 30 years ago at this point.
Oh, come on now. It was 25.
25.
It's local TV. It's Saturday night at 11 o'clock. And to be honest, we had quite a nice relationship with the station, and we were paying some money, and we were doing the cross promotions with Six Flags stuff and the 2-hour specials. So I didn't if anybody cussed, it was because I specifically said, you need to use this word. And a lot of times I would, if there was to be any heat, I would say the word, because that way, if it was anybody's fault, it was mine. I wouldn't have to scream at anybody else, but we didn't. Earlier in the show, I said, I got away with prick several times. I thought that was kind of innocuous, but you seem to think it's on the banned list. But son of a bitch, with late night television on Saturday night on a local market is probably not going to get anybody calling complaining. WBKI, unless people phoned in, I don't think would have give a shit if we'd have done.
So you know what you're here for, and I've got Briscoe and Ramsey and Dean just to make sure things don't get funny. I want to take a minute to say to you what so many people have wanted to say for so long. Doug Basham, it was 8 years ago when Danny Davis founded Ohio Valley Wrestling. You, his own flesh and blood, his own nephew, his first student. He wanted you to be his top star. He wanted to build this company around you. And he took you in and he trained you and he broke you in, and for a couple of years, everything was okay. But then all of a sudden, you weren't happy. You weren't satisfied. Doug Basham wasn't a superstar yet. You weren't making the money you wanted to make. You saw Nick Dinsmore come into the school, and Danny was spending time with him, and you got jealous. You saw he was good. Maybe he was going to be better than you. So what did you do? You did what you've done every single time the goings got rough in your life, Doug. You quit. You told Danny Davis to kiss your ass. You quit wrestling. You walked out, and you were gone. But you didn't stop following OVW. No, because especially a couple of years ago, when the WWF deal happened, you were watching TV on Saturday night. You see OVW sold out the Louisville Gardens. You saw OVW being talked about all across the country as the training ground for the next round of WWF superstars. You were jealous, you were bitter, you were resentful, and you couldn't stand it. And especially when you'd sit at home and watch TV on Saturday nights and hear me say, Nick Dinsmore is Danny Davis's greatest pupil, the best wrestler he ever trained. Nick Dinsmore is the franchise of OVW. Look at me in the eye. It ate you up. It ate at your guts. You couldn't stand it because you were jealous of Dinsmore since day one.
I gotta say, you're on fire here.
Well, thank you. Well, and again, see, the Machine and his group has been in OVW for several months at that point. And we did a whole long story with him trying to get over and get even. And finally, when he was unmasked by Dinsmore. But as I said, Danny and I, we would allude to knowing who he was, but the fans, if they knew, they knew. If they didn't, it hadn't been explained on TV. And then finally now we're tying up the story with all the facts that we've been kind of telling backwards for the last several months. The mask was all a way to introduce the initial unveiling of Doug Basham as a member of the family and the thorn in Danny Davis's side.
So what did you do? You concocted this whole Machine business, and you tricked us into letting you come in here before we even knew what was going on, and you got that little prick Spade sucking up to you.
There you go.
Assembled this revolution, And you did everything in your power to tear down and stomp on and destroy and spit on everything that your Uncle Danny Davis had ever tried to build and poured his sweat and his blood and his tears into. You tried to take it away from him. You are without a doubt the most miserable bastard I've ever seen in my life. You put Trailer Park Trash to hospital. You put Flash to hospital. You had Big Bad John do a number on me and put me in the hospital. And I would have fired you then as soon as I found out you were responsible. But for one thing, you won the OVW title. You were the champion, and if I fired you and sent you out of here, you'd take the belt, you'd leave as champion, you would destroy the credibility of the biggest prize that we have in Ohio Valley Wrestling, and you would walk out undisputedly the #1 man in OVW. So that wasn't going to happen. So it took 4 months, but finally, we found somebody that could beat you for that belt. And as of last week, you are no longer the OVW champion, and that's why I say, in front of all these screaming people here in the Davis Arena, in front of the wrestlers in the locker room, in front of the folks watching TV at home, Doug Basham, you are fired. You're fired. You're done. Your history, vapor in the archives. Get the hell out of this building and don't ever come back.
Well, let's stop it there for a moment. That's a hell of a promo.
Well, thank you. I haven't listened to that in 25 years. So
how did
that was the story.
How did Big Bad John hospitalize you?
Remember, I was attacked. Remember when I had that hernia fixed? I was attacked in the parking lot in the dark behind the Davis Arena by a giant man who I didn't get a good look at, and he stomped in my midsection. Then I showed part of my 18 surgical staples in my crotch. And people were like, oh, shit. Because I had to take 2 or 3, like with a hernia from Braun Breaker, I had to take 2 weeks off from even announcing. Because you can't raise your voice or shit, or you'll pop your repair work.
So how would you?
But anyway, nevertheless, so they had done all those things. And finally, we were able to get the belt off of him. And then finally, boom. So I've brought everybody up to date on the angle, everybody's motivation, what Basham was trying to do all along. And now we've won and it's over. You motherfucker, get the hell out of here. But there's a wrinkle.
Well, one last thing. Are you happy with what you did here? Are you happy with the job you did?
Yeah, I fumbled a couple of words. I always notice stuff like that. But overall, that was the story. I was young and peppy then.
All right, well, let's go back to this from 2001. Jim Cornette trying to fire Doug Basham.
Friends, don't you
Jimmy, but before you leave, could you come back here a second? I got something I want to show you, Jimmy. Come back. Jimmy.
I don't want to see anything you got, and if you don't get out of here, I will have them escort you.
Jimmy, you definitely want to see this.
Let me just ask you, did anyone else call you Jimmy on OVW TV? I don't remember.
Well, see, the thing is, it worked because he's kind of being disrespectful, but Danny called me Jimmy because Danny Davis had known me since I was 15 years old. And then Danny's the one that introduced me, or Doug, to me. So Jimmy Cornette, hey, for people who had known me for a while, or people who had known me for a while, that was natural to call me that. And it sounded even more condescending and smug when he did it on camera here. Jimmy, let me show you something. You don't know about this.
He called you Jimmy 4 times in the first 20 seconds, but let's go back.
Well, I didn't tell him to do that now, but you know.
Now, Jimmy, I just wanted to show you why. I mean, that was a good speech and all. I mean, I see you're sweating, your blood pressure's up. I know you want to get along with the show. But, Jimmy, you can't fire me.
I just did.
Jimmy, let me show you something. Jimmy, do you know what this is? Of course you know what this is. This is a standard wrestler's contract with Ohio Valley Wrestling. And Jimmy, I was the very first wrestler to ever sign a contract with Ohio Valley, and here I have it right here in my hand.
Moron, guess what? That was 8 years ago. They're only good for 2 years. You got toilet paper in your hand. Get out of here.
Jimmy, You see, Jimmy, right here, it says, we got down here, standard contract right here. I got something I want to show you, okay? I'm sorry, I was reading through the contract. Right here, where it says
he's trying to find the
terms of
clause.
agreement, you know, you said my Uncle Danny was a great man. And he had plans for me in this business. And being the great man that he is, that little 2 years of a standard contract you're talking about, well, he took his pen and he marked out that 2 years and he wrote something in its place. Allow me to read it to you. It is agreed that Doug Basham shall be an OVW contract wrestler for the life of the company, or until he decides he no longer wants to be a professional wrestler. And Jimmy, I still want to be a professional wrestler.
If you think for 1 second that that'll stand up,
and there's Doug's fans from Henryville, Indiana, cheering.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did you think before when he got a big pop for saying that he could be there as long as he wants?
Well, because, again, the most dedicated fans went to the TV taping. They knew Doug personally. They'd been going to OVW since the start. So as long they think that they're not going to get to see him anymore, now he says, oh, but you can't fire me. They like that.
I've already talked
as
to
long
my
as
lawyers.
they're interested.
They said it's legit, and it will stand up in court. And if you want to go to court and go through all this legal mumbo-jumbo, then let's go.
Well, we're going to. I promise you that.
Wait. There's one more thing I think you need to see. You see, my Uncle Danny wanted to reward me for all my hard work in helping OVW become a success. So at the bottom of this contract, Jimmy, at the bottom here, he put a little clause in there. And Jimmy, I tell you what, I would read this to you, but I think this is something you ought to read yourself.
The addendum says, in exchange for good and valuable consideration, the receipt and sufficiency of which is hereby acknowledged, Doug Basham shall have the right, after OVW has been in business for more than 5 years and provided it is a profitable entity, to purchase 25% of the company for the agreed-upon price of $25,000.
Right, Jimmy.
You gotta be out of your mind.
That's right, $25,000. I have a cashier's check right here for $25,000, and I want my 25%, and I want my 25% right now.
Let me stop it there for a moment. What are your thoughts?
Well, you can tell why I read it instead of having Doug read it. But that was that was what we had planned all along, that when we reveal Doug, it will be because he was promised a piece of this. We're playing on a lot of in-family wrestling breakups that really happened in history. Well, you promised me a piece, right? So this was part of it. He promised me a piece. Well, who could have ever thought that we're going to be a developmental program and this cheap price and you're a heel and a blah, blah, blah. That's when my fucking head explodes.
This ain't gonna go. It will go. 25%. I got my money. I want my percent right now. You understand?
Now, at this point, Danny Davis has just hit the ring. He pushed you out of the way, and Dean Hill is standing there holding a mic.
That's what I was wondering, how long it's going to take, but Danny Davis has come out, and it's like, no, this is bullshit. And again, in 6 years of doing television, Danny Davis appeared in an angle maybe 3 times. He appeared a couple of times with like a fire department that had raised money for the crusade, but Danny never wanted to be on TV, didn't want to be on camera, didn't want to do angles. When they saw him, it meant something. And the next time that I can remember him coming out on an angle was like 3 years after this, when Doug had finally been vanquished in the loser leave town match, and the rest of the heels turned on him, and and he became a babyface, and Danny came out to hug him and raise his hand during the closing seconds of the TV show, and the people were fucking crying. But now, anyway, he's in his nephew's face here.
Yeah.
And again, this is not Danny Davis, the ex-WWF referee that our fans in the Northeast seem to always think it's Nightmare Danny Davis. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. I have listened to you bitch and cry for the last 4 years, and I'm sick and tired of it. I bought you your first pair of wrestling boots, you ungrateful bastard.
And now he is punching his nephew on the canvas. Referee's trying to pull him back. You're trying to pull him back. Dean Hill's trying to pull him back. And there it is.
I bought you your first pair of wrestling boots, you ungrateful bastard. And Danny, as I recall, throws a hell of a punch. And boom, and now we were off with Doug Basham as himself trying to literally take over the business of Ohio Valley Wrestling and involved in that whole thing for another couple of years. And I wish Danny had gone longer just because I always loved to hear him because God, for 15 or 20 seconds there, you were like, well, that son of a bitch apparently is mad.
And he was. Then he
was
threw a
so
punch.
Believable. Yes, he was so believable in everything he did.
Well, there it is from the end of the year in 2001. The attempted firing of Doug Basham and the swerve there, him trying to buy a piece of the company. We'll return with more classic audio.
And let me just a closing thought here. Doug over Jimmy'd me. Doug was nervous. And I know people say, oh, he glazes the Bashams all the time. This was when the guy, he had been working on and off, mostly off, as you heard, for about 7 or 8 years at that point. But he really hadn't done television until the 4 months we were just talking about. So he knew this was an important thing. So that's why I did the majority of the telling of the backstory and setting the premise, and then let him say what he needed to say, and then me give the kicker, and then Danny come out and fire it up, because that was part of developmental. We're trying to give these guys experience. If he can't talk to the level of everybody else, he's also the youngest guy in the ring, so he's the one we need to teach. So when you do angles that are complicated and have facets and levels and surround guys with that, then they sink or swim, but they strive to get better. And that's the kind of, thing that we were doing with the program. And again, just to be honest, whether it's 25 years ago or right now, where do you find an indie wrestling show on the air in one market that has promos like that?
Well, again, we'll return with more classic audio in the future. That was a great segment right there. And man, what a promo. But Jim, why don't we wrap things up here today with a little bit of Guess the Program. And I got a bunch.
I love it, brother.
Do I have a date on this one? I got to see if I can find a date.
Now you're going to ask me questions you don't even know the answer to.
I didn't have a date on that one. All right, let's start with some relatively easy ones. Jim, this match is written in. Oh, by the way, Guess the Program. We go through programs in my collection. We quiz Jim, giving him the card, and he will guess as many details about it as he can. The date, the location, the arena, etc.
As long as it's not WWF cards from the 90s, I should be okay.
As long as it's not a card you were on in the 90s.
Yes, if I was there, I don't know anything about it. But
Jim, written in, so I will list it here.
Yes.
Jerry Valiant versus Mr. Wrestling 2.
Okay, that's an odd pairing that may have never, ever happened again.
Ivan Putski versus Moondog Rex. The match listed here, Tony Garea versus Mr. Fuji, although Mr. Fuji is crossed out and Steve Lombardi is written in. Special Delivery Jones versus the Magnificent Morocco. David Sammartino crossed out Swede Hansen versus Terry Gibbs.
Good Lord.
For a ladies championship I won't name, Wendy Richter, the champion, versus Judy Martin. Jimmy Superfly Snuka and the Junkyard Dog versus Rowdy Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton. For the Intercontinental title, I'll just name it, the champion Greg Valentine.
It's not like I haven't figured that much out.
Greg Valentine versus Tito Santana. And finally, the main event, one fall, 1 hour time limit, world title match. The champion Hulk Hogan versus the challenger, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
Boy, howdy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 big stars on the lineup there. Obviously, this was a WWF show in the early days of the expansion. And he had so many guys on the roster that his cards were loaded to the gills. And Vince better be glad he won the war, because he had a heck of a nut to crack with his talent payroll. Even if he wasn't guaranteeing guys money at that point, just the amount of guys to feed on these fucking cards. Jerry Valiant was Guy Stomper Mitchell, who became Jerry Valiant when Johnny and Jimmy were scheduled to go back to New York, and I believe it was 1979. And Jimmy got hepatitis. He had like yellow jaundice and was sick for several months, and they made Guy Mitchell the new Valiant brother, Jerry, which of course didn't. Jimmy was the key to the whole team. Without him, it was lost. Wrestling 2, obviously we know who that is, and that's why this really narrows this down, I would think, to, well, it's definitely either 1984 or 1985, because Wrestling 2 wasn't there that fucking long. And Ivan Putski, we know Rex, the Moondog, was Randy Colley. Gurria and Fuji, if Fuji was not there, this was probably right before he started managing. He may have been injured. Lombardi was the Brooklyn Brawler there to take his place. Actually, he wasn't the Brawler yet then. He was just still Steve Lombardi.
That is correct.
S.D. Jones, Don Morocco, David Sammartino. That's why this is very early, but he was replaced by Swede Hansen. That's from one end of the spectrum to the other. I don't know any two more opposite individuals. This was, again, 84, 85 because of Wendy Richter. Snuka and JYD, Piper and Orton. I don't need to do background on these people. This couldn't have been the 1986 Hogan and Orndorff run. So this had to be from these names involved either on the run up to or right after the first WrestleMania. Why do I want this to be in the Omni just because Wrestling 2 is there? Did they use Wrestling 2 anywhere else besides Georgia? In 1984, it's either Madison Square Garden or the Omni, one or the other.
The date, Thursday, January 24th, 1985.
3 weeks.
The Arena, St. Louis, Missouri.
Jesus Christ. They used Jerry Valiant in Wrestling 2 made St. Louis for the first time and last time ever in their careers, I guess. That's what Wrestling 2 being there threw me all the fuck off. But boy, there was a lot of names on this card, but very little substance that our friend poor Sam Muchnick would have been proud of back in the day, for St. Louis.
Certainly different than Wrestling at the Chase. Jim, this next one, it's almost impossible, but it's fun, so we'll do it.
All right.
There'll be a girls' match, or as it says here, girl match. Bull Molina versus Tito Torres. Larry Winters versus Sal Balomo.
Wait a minute. Oh, Larry Winters. Good Lord. Okay, Sal Balomo.
The Wild Barbarian versus Polish Power Ivan Putski in a special attraction. And finally, the main event, Boris Zukov, as it says here, Zuckov,
versus DC Drake.
And Buddy Rose
Oh, okay.
versus Animal and Hawk, the Road Warriors.
Oh, okay. Well, what this was, Larry Winters was a early independent name in the Northeast. And that's why I said DC Drake, because he had a long program with DC Drake. But in this case, he's apparently just guesting. Sal Bellomo being on the card and Ivan Putski would insinuate WWF involvement, but Animal and Hawk and Zukov and Rose indicates AWA involvement. And this would have been at a point in time after Putski and Bellomo had their WWF run, and this is an independent show in the Northeastern United States during the period of time where Buddy Rose, I said Doug Summers at the same time, Zukov, Animal, and Hawk were all in the AWA, which would have put it, God, again, this looks like a 1985 to me, and it's in Teterboro, New Jersey. It's somewhere in New Jersey in 1985. And it's an AWA influenced card, maybe some kind of Pro Wrestling USA advertising tie-in but run actually by a local promoter in the Northeast.
You said a whole lot there and you got a lot of it right, but
that's why I was trying to give some kind of detail.
The show, 8 p.m., Wednesday, April 30th, 1986. Brooklyn, right. Our Lady of Angels Gym.
Okay, and who does it list the promoter?
It doesn't, but it may be Tommy D. I'm not sure.
That sounds like a Tommy D. And again, Larry Winters on the card, and Tito Torres was a guy that worked independently up there. Bellomo and Putski were past their WWF run, but lived up there. And he brought the main event in from the AWA because Vern was doing the Pro Wrestling USA shows up in like Baltimore and the Meadowlands. And, you know, they were trying to fight back at that point in time. So those guys were on television.
All right, Jim, our next program here. The opener, Al Torres versus Tiger Conway. One fall, 20-minute time limit.
Hold on, my pen quit here. Let me get another pen and get a page. Okay, give it to me again.
Al Torres versus Tiger Conway, one fall, 20-minute time limit. A special event, one fall, 20-minute time limit. Dick Steinborn versus Rocco Lamban.
What?
Out of Barcelona, Spain. Rocco Lamban, Lamban.
Okay.
An extra special event, one fall, 20-minute time limit. The Clawman, Seattle, Washington, 215, versus Jerry Miller, Rockford, Illinois, 214. An added attraction, one fall, 20-minute time limit. Tony Bourne versus Duke Kiamuka. The semifinal, one fall, 20 minutes. Moolah versus Betty Boucher. A special added event. 2 falls out of 3, 60-minute time limit. Dick the Bruiser versus Ramon Torres.
Good Lord.
And the main event for a title I will not name. 2 out of 3 falls, 90-minute time limit. The champion Lou Thez versus Wilbur Snyder.
Okay. Well, I already knew it was the early 60s, and Thez being champion between 63 and 66 kind of confirms that. Tiger Conway, you didn't say junior, which also indicated it was the 60s. Dick Steinborn still wrestling, even against somebody I've never heard of before. So Jerry Miller later became Duke Miller. He was a big heel in the Mobile territory. This would have been early in his career, and The Clawman, I'm trying to think of this territory and who would have done this thing there. Tony Bourne and Duke Kiyomoka are better known in opposite ends of the country. Duke Kiyomoka settled in Florida and was close with the Grahams and trainer, part of the office. Tony Bourne, Matt Bourne's father, was best known in the Portland territory. Moolah and Betty Boucher could have been anywhere because they traveled. Bruiser and Raymond Torres, with Alberto Torres in the opening contest, takes it out of, because the Torres brothers would have been the baby faces at this time and Bruiser the heel. And then Thez and Snyder for the, again, it's between 63 and 66. But God damn, or am I just completely being swerved? And this is just a Kiel Auditorium card in St. Louis with a lot of stars from various places, but with the Torreses and we're in Texas. We're in goddamn Texas in 1964 in Houston.
That was pretty good. Wednesday, October 14th, 1964, San Antonio, Texas.
Son of a bitch, 200 miles.
A WrestleThon promotion.
I should have thought. You stooged yourself. You got new San Antonio programs.
Well, not new.
There.
I'll reveal it here on the show. I was going through stuff in the archive, and I found literally stacks of never before seen, literally mint condition San Antonio programs in Corpus Christi and Austin from 64, 65, and 66, including a lot of NWA title matches. So stay tuned. I got to figure out something to do with these. Hey, Jim, here are the concession prices. Schlitz beer, 40 cents. All other beer, 35. Hamburgers, 40 cents. Hot dogs, 30 cents. Popcorn and peanuts, 15 cents each. Chopped barbecue sandwich, 55 cents. Sliced barbecue sandwich, 60 cents. And at the stands, a large soda water, 25 cents. Small soda water, 10 cents. And if you're in audience, a small soda water is 15 cents.
And you know, kids carried change around in their pockets. And parents go, okay, here's your quarter. Go get popcorn and a Coke and a fucking program and a brand new car.
No TV tonight. Fans at the Coliseum tonight will be the only people seeing this action, for there will be no television of any kind of these bouts. So action here tonight will not be shown on the Wrestling from the WrestleThon television show, seen every Saturday on KONO TV, Channel 12. The management regrets this, but several of the stars on this program have clauses in their contract that forbid television of any kind, including taping of matches for showing later.
Well, and that was, they were trying to basically give a rational explanation for an arbitrary decision they made. Sometimes they do TV from there, but sometimes they wouldn't. When the world title was on the line in the main event, you want people to come and buy a ticket and pay to see it and not have to, or not think they're going to see it on television. But I don't think any wrestlers' contracts were involved as much as the promoter wanting to make more money. But is there a picture of the Claw Man? Who is the Claw Man?
He is a masked wrestler. I got to look in to see exactly who it is, and it's his first night in the town.
Son of a bitch. I think it turned out to be somebody, and I can't remember who it was.
All right, Jim.
You may be able to divine it later on when you go through all those programs.
This next event, the opening contest, John Tolis versus Thor Hagen. The second event, Rocky Colombo versus Rip Hawk. A tag team match, The Great Bolo and Tokyo Joe versus Bob Geigel and Rip Rogers. The semifinal, Iron Mike DiBiase versus Sonny Myers. 2 out of 3 falls, 45-minute time limit. And the main event, for a title I will not name, 2 out of 3 falls, 90 minutes. The champion Lou Thez versus Dory Funk.
Okay, well, then that tells us what I needed to know. John Tolos obviously was best known for his run in California against Blassie in that the LA Coliseum match, the whole 9 yards, and was a manager for the WWF. But in this era, he was still a single. Thor Hagen is an old timer who wrestled in a variety of places. Rip Hawk, a Carolinas legend in the 70s, and the top heel and later on a local hero babyface in Evansville, Indiana in the late 50s, early 60s, where we're getting closer to this time period. Bob Geigel and Rip Rogers. When you got Bob Geigel and Sonny Myers on a card, one would think Central States, Kansas, but this was before that. And Rip Rogers was not our beloved Rip Rogers, but was still Eddie, who would be Eddie Graham, correct? Is there a picture? That would be the same one at that time, right?
I don't see
tell me.
I don't see a picture, but I wouldn't tell you if I did.
Okay. Mike DiBiase is Ted DiBiase's father, who had a heart attack and died in the ring. And we've talked about Sonny Myers being another Central States mainstay with Geigel in later years, but Thez versus Dory Funk, there's no junior because this is senior. There was no junior yet. And if this is a world title match with Thez, then that would put it back into the 50s, because obviously Eddie Graham didn't work as Rip Rogers past 1958, when he became Eddie Graham, which also Thez lost the NWA title for the last time in 1950, or last time in the 50s in 1958. This is in Amarillo, and they have done a program between Thez and Dory Funk Sr. where they have come back with an extended time limit. 2 out of 3 falls, 90 minutes. This is in 1957 in Amarillo, where Rip Rogers with Eddie Graham was working as Rip Rogers and got that name and learned much about the wrestling business from Dory Funk Sr. Hence why Dory Jr. and Terry were always so close to Eddie Graham.
Well, you know the rule. If we're several programs deep and you get it all right, we have to end with this one. Amarillo, Texas, Thursday, August 1st, 1957.
Boom!
Wrestling at its best. We sponsor Boys Ranch. You should too. 15 cents for the official program. Attend the church of your choice on Sunday. The headline story in the program, Jim. Fabulous Moolah replaces Marvelous Mildred. Fabulous Moolah, she's trying to get rid of the former tag of Slave Girl, has been signed by Doc Sarpolis to oppose Helen Hild here next Thursday, August 8th. Helen, by the way, has had as much experience as Moolah, if not more. Moolah, the female fireball from Johannesburg, South Africa, probably has caused more riotous action in the ring than any other woman wrestler of this or any other era. It would be stretching a point to say that the fans have forgotten the great Mildred Burke, who ruled the gal grapplers for so many years. But it is a fact, just the same, that since Moolah reached her present prominence, Mildred has hardly been missed. And you don't even hear anybody ask what became of her anymore.
Good Lord, they're trying to bury Mildred, aren't they?
It is a fact, also, that many well-qualified critics think Moolah, generally recognized now as the champion, is a better wrestler now than Mildred ever was. and perhaps just as big a drawing card too, though probably not quite as popular as Miss Burke because of her unruly ring manners. Moolah gained her recognition as champ by winning a tournament in Baltimore, Maryland, in which 10 leading women wrestlers were entered. By the way, those girl gladiators, or should we call them how do I say this? Or should we call them gladiaresses?
Gladiatresses?
Have hit their peak since World War II. Some of them were in the wrestling money 20 years ago. One of the early stars about that time was a blonde bombshell named Gladys Killam Gillum. Wrestling got too tame for her, so she quit to become a professional lion trainer. And there it is, building up Moolah next week, putting down Mildred Burke for no good reason.
Well, and you know who Helen Hill turned out to be?
That's Ted DiBiase's mom, right?
Correct. And Ted was actually, Mike DiBiase was Ted's stepfather. But obviously they were close. Ted was, his dad was his hero, and that's why Ted wanted to follow in his footsteps. But his father had passed away when Ted was still young. So guys like the Funks and the people that had worked around the Amarillo territory took care of Teddy and broke him in and kept an eye on him and made sure he was doing okay because of their respect for his dad.
Well, a great success for you today. And with that, we end Guess the Program. More to come in the future. And with that, the drive-thru is closed.
Okay.
All right. Some people are just cranky pants when it comes to good music. Of course,
Cranky pants.
More good music next week, right back here on the drive-thru. And of course, a musicless show for the most part on The Experience in a few days, wherever you find your favorite podcast. Go through the archive, patreon.com/Cornette. Get you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. It'll come right up.
Search for me. Try to find me wherever I am.
Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, that great George Livinitis artwork. Check it out, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Cornette's Collectibles at jimcornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
Well, on October 21st, you can get a glimmer of all the fine ring-worn and ring-used items that I'm going to be selling, which begins Saturday, April 4th at noon. And when they go on sale, they'll probably immediately be off sale because they'll be all sold out. So scope it out and pick out what you want to shoot for.
At jimcornette.com. Of course, the drive-thru is brought to you by the Lofts of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. But until the drive-thru next week, and of course the Experience in a few days, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!
Ouch.